All right, good evening, everyone. My name is Rob Cagnetta, and this is a meeting of the South Kingstown, Rhode Island Zoning Board of Review. Members present tonight are Mr. Daniels, our Vice Chairman, Mr. Rosen, Ms. Hicks, Mr. Elia, and our alternate, Mr. McDonald. Also present are Amy Goins, their special legal counsel, Jamie Gorman, the South Kingstown Building and Zoning Official, and Ben Barbara, our Building and Zoning Associate. The board is made up of 8 people with 5 regular voting members. A minimum of 4 members must be present to vote. In the event that a regular member is absent or recused, an alternate may step in. No more than 5 members are entitled to a vote, and at least 3 voting members are needed to grant a requested relief. Tonight, the voting members will be myself, Mr. Daniels, Mr. Rosen, Ms. Hicks, Mr. Elia, and Mr. Elia. Applicants are here for either a dimensional or use variance or a special use permit. This board is a quasi-judicial body created by the South Kingstown Ordinance pursuant to state statutes. We don't follow strict rules of evidence, and we operate in what we believe to be in a fair and equitable manner. We try to let everyone speak, unless you get carried away, or it's deemed not relevant. So in the interest of time, please be brief and on point. We do our best not to argue and keep things civil, and we try to hear our last petition by 10 o'clock. After we introduce your petition, please step up to the microphone right there. Adjusting it as necessary. It's very easy to move. There's 2 buttons on there. You want to hit the button with the person on it to turn it red. The mic will also turn red, and then you can be heard. And then after you're done speaking, just hit that red button again, or else we get some crazy feedback. So clearly state and spell your name for the record. You will then be asked to take an oath to tell the truth. After that, you can present your petition with any witnesses to testify in support of the application. The board will then ask you or your witnesses questions. After the petitioner has presented their testimony, anyone with questions in support of or opposition to the petition can step up to the microphone. You will identify yourself, be sworn in, and present your testimony with follow-up questions from the board. Please do not direct any questions or comments to the petitioner or any other witnesses. The board will direct questions to the petitioner or any other witnesses after the comment period. After hearing all the testimony, board members will discuss the application and the evidence presented. Board members will ask a lot of questions, and there's a good reason. We cannot just grant anything we choose. There are rules to follow per the South Kingstown ordinance, so you must give testimony to either support, or I'm sorry, you must give testimony to support certain facts to allow the request to be approved. So tonight we have a dimensional variance and a special use. Nope, no special use. Nope, sorry. For the dimensional variance, you must present evidence that your hardship is due to the unique characteristics of the subject land or structure, but it is not due to the general characteristics of the surrounding area, that your hardship is not the result of any prior action on your part, and that the granting of the variance will not alter the general character of the surrounding area, and that your hardship for the denial of the variance will amount to more than a mere inconvenience. This means that the relief sought is minimal to reasonably enjoy the permitted use of the property it is proposed for. So we do not have a special use, so I won't read that in. Tonight we do have 2 appeals to the zoning, or 1 appeal to the zoning board, and then another that's an appeal of a notice of violation to the zoning enforcement officer. And then 1 dimensional variance. So hopefully we can kind of get through things here in a reasonable way. Is there anything else that we need to cover before we get started? Okay. And just so you guys know, if you do step up to the microphone, we'll do our best to help guide you. If you are having any trouble or any questions about things, just feel free to, just ask anything you like. We'll do our best to kind of help you out. Like I said, if I feel things are not on track, then we'll help you steer back. So first we're going to hear the continuation for the petition of Milton Rogers of 70 Foster Sheldon Road in South Kingstown, Rhode Island, 02879, for an appeal to the zoning board under the zoning ordinance as follows. The applicant is seeking to appeal a decision issued by the zoning enforcement officer dated June 25th, 2025, related to the premises as 28 Columbia Street. The owner of the property is Rogers Home, Inc., for premises located at 28 Columbia Street, South Kingstown, Assessors Map 57-1, Lot 43, and is zoned CN, which is a commercial neighborhood. So who is here for that petition? Come on up. So again, hit the button, please state and spell your name, please.
Milton Rogers, Milton Rogers.
And you swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I swear.
All right, go ahead. Tell us what's happening.
So I don't have my attorney here tonight, but I want to try to forward this to the board and tell them that I have received approval for the funding.
Oh, excellent.
And I have a letter that states that, and I'm just waiting for the award letter to actually be placed. The State of Rhode Island, I have something from the State of Rhode Island, from the Executive Office of Housing of the State of Rhode Island, and the project was approved for funding.
It was?
Yes, it was.
Okay.
And the amount subsides more than is needed to finish the project.
Fantastic.
So, and that's why I stand with that. I apologize to the city of South Kingston and to the board members for the time that it's taken. You know, with the federal government and the state of Rhode Island, you know, nothing ever happens fast. You know, no fault of mine. You know, I do operate facilities in the state of Rhode Island on the other half of Rhode Island, and I'm bringing it down towards here. And, you know, I know that it's in the town of South Kingston, but, you know, I raised my kids here, and my son and my daughter in the town of South Kingston. You know, my daughter went on to go to Charahoe, and she's an aspiring actor now in the U.S.
Can I just ask Mr. Rogers to clarify whether you're requesting a continuance because your attorney isn't here?
Yes, I am.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I'm just, you know, maybe I should be quiet and just, you know, but I'm just trying to, you know, for some of the people who are here, and just tell a little bit about me and, you know, what I'm trying to do here.
I understand, but if Mr. Rogers is requesting a continuance because his attorney can't be here, my recommendation to the board is that you continue this matter to the January meeting, because I think it would be prejudicial to have the hearing without his counsel. I know there has been several requests for continuances, and I think we all know why if we were at the last meeting. The applicant's counsel is reportedly engaged with the town in potentially seeking a zoning ordinance amendment that would allow this use to be reinstated. I think the news about the state funding is certainly good news, but I don't know if the state at some point is going to request a letter from the town saying the use is you know, a zoning certificate, and at this point, they're not going to be able to get that. So my recommendation is that the board grant the requested continuance on the basis that counsel's unavailable, continue it to January. You know, if counsel's not here, prepared to go forward in January, I think at that point, it may be, you know, deny the appeal and let them pursue their other potential remedies to address the situation. That's just my advice.
Okay, so I mean, I have lots of questions related to that, so I think we should sort of
Continue?
hold off.
Okay.
Yeah, because
agree
I
with
want to
that.
make sure that you're sort of, we're getting sort of the parameters of what you're asking
Right.
for and
Exactly.
and making sure it's fitting within the context of what you have proposed and
Yep.
what you're going to do move forward.
I understand.
But I appreciate the backstory. I think it certainly helps us understand why you needed the time.
Yep.
And why you're still going to need a little bit more additional time. So,
Yes.
So you're requesting for the next zoning board meeting, and
January.
what's the date of that? January 21st?
That sounds good. Thank you, Amy. I appreciate you.
And so you feel that's sufficient time
Yes,
to
I
do
do.
everything that you need to do?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Is there anyone out there that's here for this petition? Okay, so I don't have to tell anybody that we'll be hearing it again on the, potentially, on the 21st. Any questions, board members, or any conversation that we wanted to have about this? Everybody okay with that? All right, so I'll make a motion to continue the Milton Rogers petition until January 21st, 2025. Can I get a second?
Is it-
Ugh, this is such a good year. Let's have another one. Seconded. Thank you by Mr. Elia. Any other discussion? Hearing none. Mr. Cagnetta, aye. Mr. Elia? Aye. Mr. Rosen? Aye. Ms. Hicks?
Aye.
Mr. Daniels? Aye. Motion passes. We'll see you next month.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. So, next we have the continuation for the petition of Sarah Isabella of 32 Willard Avenue, Wakefield, Rhode Island, 02879, for a dimensional variance under the zoning ordinance as follows. The applicant is seeking to construct a detached accessory dwelling unit on a lot consisting of 17,379 square feet in land area. The minimum lot size to establish an ADU is 20,000. Therefore, a relief of 2,621 square feet is requested. Lot size is .39 acres. The dimensional variance is required per the zoning ordinance, sections 401, schedule of dimensional regulations, and section 907 are standards of relief. Owner of the property is Sarah Isabella for premises located at 232 Willard Avenue, South Kingstown, Assessors Map 56-2, Lot 23, and is zoned R10. So, good evening.
Good
Attorney
evening.
Sardot, how are you?
Good. How are you, Mr. Chairman and members of the board?
Doing all right.
So, as always, I will try to be as brief as possible, but we do have a number of abutters, so I think I may go into a good deal of detail, and if at any point in time the board thinks that's extraneous or not appropriate, please let me know, and we'll try to redirect back, as I know the board will do.
I'll do my best.
We are here tonight regarding an ADU.
Just reintroduce yourself, please, for the record.
Yes, Attorney Stephen Surdit, with offices in Warwick and an office here at 10 High Street in the old Wakefield Mill, which is a really cool building if you've never been in it. Here tonight regarding an auxiliary dwelling unit to be located in an R10 zone on a site that is approximately 17,150 square feet. I think my number's a little bit off, I apologize. But that's what we're here tonight about, is that discrepancy between 20,000 and 17,000 and change. R10, as you all likely know, is one of your highest density residential zones. And in fact, right across the street, there is a property that's zoned for condominiums and for an even denser area. But R10 is your heaviest density based upon size, 10,000, 20,000, 40, 80, and up to 200, as you all are well versed. And in fact, in doing some research for tonight, I found out that actually your comprehensive plan calls for areas such as this that are within the Seward areas of the town center to actually have up to 5 dwelling units per acre in terms of density. And there's a little discrepancy there, but the comp plan very much seems to, in my opinion, suggest that we should use the higher number there. So we're here tonight about the placement of a single-story auxiliary dwelling unit in the rear of the premises. There is already an outbuilding on the site. That building is a very old building. In my research, I couldn't determine when exactly that garage was initially constructed, but when I went out to the site with the owner, we were able to see that it is a stone foundation. In fact, a very unlevel stone foundation, and the whole building is really held together so that it stays as close to level as possible. It's used as a garage currently and some storage for the site. So what we're here to ask for is to place approximately 900 and change square foot auxiliary dwelling unit in the rear of the structure. I only have one witness here tonight, the owner. I forewent having our surveyor here because that doesn't really seem to be in question. The issue here seems to be, in speaking with a number of neighbors, change. And change is one of those inevitable things that we all have to deal with. You have a piece of correspondence from number of neighbors and one of the direct abutters. Myself and the owner have gone out of our way to maintain and continue a dialogue, especially with our direct abutters, and most notably with the direct abutter on the side of the property where we're proposing the dwelling unit. And we've attempted to work out a way to maintain their privacy and their current uses on the site while allowing this use to come into effect. Trying to be a good neighbor and to build a community, because not only is that what your comp plan requests, but that's just in the nature of South Kingstown and I call it Old South County, which I'm lucky enough to be a part of, as many of you are. And most notably, we have, in going out there and looking the site, that property owner has placed a playground equipment in that back area near our proposed structure. And we would be happy to work with that neighbor. There was a discussion about fences. I don't think either party really liked a fence, but certainly about arborvitaes or something like that to preserve, and I don't mean to judge, but I think it's his grandchildren, not his children, based on his age, the area in the back. And we all have a right to want to use our property and to have a little bit of privacy when we're with our family. So we want to preserve that. So I'm sure that he constructed it way in the back of his property in an effort to gain that privacy. In fact, behind his outbuilding and structure, which he utilizes as a garage, which is actually, I believe, going to be taller and about the same square footage when you do the shape as our proposed structure. So I would suggest to you, in terms of meeting your evidentiary criteria, that because of the size and the allowed uses, because of the density requirements, and because of the goals of your comprehensive plan, that this is not only is this in conformity with the surrounding neighborhood, where, and in fact, duplexes are allowed in your R10 zone. They have to be attached, but again, having 2 dwelling units on a site is certainly not out of character of the neighborhood. And I'd be happy to answer questions on that or speak to that in more detail if the board has questions about why I'm suggesting that that is the case. And to that effect, the owner did not create the size of the lot, being just under the 20,000 square foot lot, which is, as we know, a relatively new ordinance that we're all dealing with, and that took over for the town's much more restrictive auxiliary dwelling or a secondary dwelling unit statute, which was in place for some time, which I've had discussions with neighbors about, and it's my opinion, and obviously defer to your staff, that the state statute trumps that prior town ordinance, and maybe I shouldn't use that word, that supersedes the prior town ordinances that was in place. But we believe that this proposal is certainly generally in conformance with that prior statute. While my client does technically reside just up the road on Willard Street, she is a homeowner in town. She lives in the area. So while I can't stand up here and say it's owner occupied currently, she is a member of your community and wants to remain so for the near future. There's a little bit of a personal backstory, and while that's not the driving goal here and not evidentiarily relevant, my client does have her mother is still with us. I dare say she's elderly, and eventually having a site like this that is a single story with a bedroom, with a bathroom, all on 1-story living, again, is something that we can age in place in. And again, that's another element of your comprehensive plan, and I can go into more detail later on, that is proposed and promoted in your comprehensive plan, which is all types of living arrangements that are for younger folks, starter families, and then people who are downsizing or wanting to age in place. So with that being said, I will call my first witness, the homeowner.
So please just state and spell your name, please.
Hi, Sarah Isabella, Sarahisabella.
And you swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth.
I do.
Excellent. So please go ahead, Mr. Shaw.
Ms. Isabella, you own this property, correct?
I do.
And when you purchased it, it was the... Oh, sorry, no, I forget, sometimes I have a loud voice, but we got to record, and we got to go on the internet, so it doesn't carry over the internet. Ms. Isabella, you did not modify the size of this lot in any way, did you?
No.
And you've put a lot of thought into this proposal that we're here before the board, correct?
Yes. In fact, can I say something to that? So when I was thinking about doing this originally for my mom, who's sitting right over there, I was trying to do it in the garage, and that's just not going to work. But I took a lot of thought in putting it into the back corner and making sure that the visual aspect of it really fit with the neighborhood and took into consideration the back neighbors and the side neighbors to be equidistant and farthest away so everybody could enjoy the property together. So I just really put a lot of thought into it, and I just wanted to share that piece of it about that.
Well, expand on the one thing you just said about, tell me about the garage. Like, why is it that you felt that the garage wouldn't work?
Well, so he's not here now, but my builder said, it's just, you have a rubble foundation here. This just isn't going to meet modern energy codes. It just doesn't make sense. Yeah, could we do it? But you're not going to get a good product out of it. Doesn't make any sense. And why get rid of a garage?
Right.
There's, why do that?
Okay. So it's better as an outbuilding than it is a living building?
Oh, yeah. There's
Okay.
also, well, never mind a rubble foundation, but someone put, at some point, did like an addition on the back, so there's this concrete, like, bump up in the back. So if you were gonna put a kitchen in there, you'd have to blow all that up somehow and then somehow get insulation in to get the plumbing to the rest of it. It just was very convoluted. And then
Sure.
it's also not, you can't get the right insulation in the walls, and that's what he said anyway.
Okay. Well, it's an outbuilding, which, a
Right.
lot of outbuildings don't make good living buildings. So,
Right. Like I
okay.
said, could it happen? Sure, but not easily, cheaply, or energy code-wise either.
Okay. So, I'm sorry, and then did you want to add more than,
No, I don't think so, unless you have some questions.
Yeah, I do. And behind the building, when you go there now, and if the board wants, I have some pictures to accentuate it. They're old-fashioned. You can see there's a lot of existing buffer and trees, correct? In the back right-hand corner of the lot.
Yes, yes.
And you're going to do your best to keep as much of that in place as is currently there, correct?
Well, I can't, yes, they can't, the shrubbery that's on other people's property obviously is still gonna be there. They can do whatever they want with their property.
Right, we don't have control over that, but the
No.
goal is to maintain as much of the existing vegetative buffer there as possible, correct?
Yeah.
And
yeah,
when
I mean-
and when you stand there now, there's a pretty substantial buffer there, correct?
Yeah, you can't see the other houses.
And
well.
even now in winter, when a lot of the leaves are down, it still acts as a substantial buffer, correct?
Yes,
And your goal is to maintain that, correct?
yeah, yes. I mean, it's close, I'll do whatever I need to do. Yes,
We're gonna
whatever.
keep
I
that
want
as
to work
much.
together with the neighbors. I have tried to work together with the neighbors.
but the plants, like the existing plants aren't on your property per se?
Right.
Are there any
Well, there are, I'm going to remove them in order to do the
In-
construction.
in order to
correct.
build it? Right, okay.
It's hard to really see it in that picture, but,
And you can see your neighbor's outbuilding in the map, in the picture currently up on the screen, correct?
oh, yes, yes. Stephen.
And you believe that one of the reasons you put your structure back there is because you believe that that's the best place and it'll actually be difficult for your neighbor to see it through his outbuilding, correct?
Right, so it's going to be kind of, well, I kind of drew it in here. This is not to scale, but can I just show this?
Yes. Would mark that as Exhibit 1, please.
is behind his roof line is taller than this, so you won't be able to see that square, and it's not to scale right there, I was just trying to show it on the GIS, but it will be hidden by his garage, so he won't be able to see it, but it is true, the playground will obviously, it's gonna abut the playground, you can see where his playground is, and it will be right next to the playground.
And you've talked to him about working out some sort of visual buffer there?
Yep.
So that he can maintain his privacy back there with his family, correct?
Right. We talked about that on the phone, and he mentioned, he'd even maintain those, and I'm like, okay.
So you want to work with him on that, correct?
But yes, yes.
And you and I talked about how there's some wiggle room in the ADU statute, and there were other ways to go about doing this, but you felt that this was the most transparent and best way to do this, to come before the board and ask for this relief, rather than try to find another way to comply with the statute, correct?
Right.
And you believe that because you're a member of the community and the neighborhood, correct?
Yes.
And additionally, you believe that the location of this allows for some privacy for your property and having and maintaining some recreation area, some green space in the back of the property, correct?
Correct.
And that's something, again, that is part of your comprehensive plan to maintain green space in and around your, within the central village district here in this Seward area while bringing in infill. And that's another one of your goals, correct, Mrs. Abella, to utilize this existing property and to add a dwelling unit without having to develop a new property and build out new sewer connections as the comprehensive plan requests?
Yes. I also don't want to really put in a duplex, because I know that's my allowed rate there, to do a duplex there, and I feel that wouldn't look great. I feel like this is the best looking within the town, out of all the options that I could do, because there are more than one options, and I'm aware of that.
So I would ask if the board has any additional questions of Mrs. Isabella as to what her goals and desires here, and that this is an allowed right by use, and that not granting this rather modest dimensional variance would amount to more than a mere inconvenience for her in exercising an allowed use on the property of an auxiliary dwelling unit.
Board members, any questions for the witness? Yeah, Mr. Elia.
You presently do not live in the existing home, correct?
Correct.
Have you lived there in the last 6 months?
No.
Okay. And that's rental property?
Yes.
And how long has that been a rental property?
Since June, 2024, March of 2024.
And will this ADU be used as a rental property, or will you be placing your mother in that property?
Well, right now, she doesn't need to be in there, but eventually, so it will be rental now until she needs it. I don't want to be stuck in a position to have to build something later when she's really not able. Right now, she's capable.
And you presently live down in the area?
Yeah,
And is there room on that property for an ADU, closer proximity to the house you live in?
no, it's no, it's got a garage and as well.
It has a
I've never, I don't believe I could do that. I've never looked into it.
It would just seem to me if you're building this with the ultimate intention of having your mother there, you would want her in closer proximity.
No. No, that's fine. This is close. This is close enough.
And you currently have a year-round rental on this property, correct?
Right.
And that is your intent to continue to do that in the future, have a year-round rental?
Oh, yes.
Right.
In fact, the neighbor Dan on the other side, before I bought the property, when he heard I was going to buy it, he asked me specifically not to rent to college students. Well, I can, but that is not certainly my intention. I wanted it to be year-round. And there's some great people in there. I think everybody can agree with that. There's some great people in there right now.
And to that effect, if you were to build a duplex, there would be less restrictions on who you could rent to and what type of rentals and what you could do with that property than if you built this as an ADU and categorized it as an auxiliary dwelling unit.
Right.
right? You understand that there are limitations about 30, it's the length of rentals
Oh, right,
and the size of the ADU that you would not necessarily be constrained by if you were to put a duplex on the site, correct?
right. Correct.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Daniels, questions?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to ask the building official to clear up one thing. Are the setbacks in order where they're proposed ADU? It looks a little close to the lot lines there. Are they okay, or do they need a dimensional variance at some point?
So the survey that shows the proposed ADU has 6.5 from the side as well as the rear, and for an accessory structure, the setback is 6 feet, so this would comply.
Is that okay?
Correct.
Okay.
And state law says that we can't be more restrictive with ADUs than we are for other accessory structure setbacks. So those are the ones
Sure.
that do apply.
Sure, just wanted to clear that up. So, Miss Isabella, you testified that eventually you would like your mom to occupy the proposed ADU. Is that correct?
Correct.
And,
If-
but,
Yes. If we get to that point, I'm hoping that will happen.
okay. So, let me understand your further testimony. You have no intention of living there even if your mom is in the ADU?
Correct.
Thank you.
Well, yeah. I don't know what's going to happen in the future, but that's not my intention right now.
Okay, board member, oh, sorry. You want to
I
add
live
something?
down the street, so that's good.
Any other questions, board members? Yes. Yeah, Mr. Rosen.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but when you put in an ADU, there's supposed to be the owner living in the main house?
No, remember, we have to disregard what's in our ordinance. The old accessory apartments regulations have been superseded by state law. State law does not require owner occupancy, and in fact, we can't require owner occupancy. The only way that owner occupancy comes into play with a proposed ADU is usually when the zoning board's not going to be hearing the application, because one of the ways to establish an ADU on a property is for an owner-occupied property for a family member with disabilities. That's by right. They're here because one of the other paths to get the ADU established is minimum lot size, and that's why they're here seeking relief from that. So owner occupancy, we can't require that. It can't be used as a short-term rental per state law. The state law said, here's what, set certain regulations that apply statewide and constrains the town from adding certain additional regulations. You can require, you can impose reasonable conditions of approval, but you can't say this must be owner occupied as a condition of approval.
One other question. What was your reasoning for just not tearing down the garage and putting the ADU in that particular spot?
Because it's, it removes the garage,
Yeah.
and it's a beautiful old garage from the looks of it, anyway. It looks nice. And it's too close to the house. It's set up like a garage, it just not good siting to do that, in my opinion.
But you're not going to live there, correct?
I know, but I like the way, I live on the street. I drive by it all the time. I want it to look good. I want the neighborhood to look good. I want the values to stay.
Well, most people that rent something don't necessarily have a garage either, that they can put their car in or whatever.
But this one has one.
And I assume that whoever's going to live in that ADU also is going to be either beginning a rental. You park your car outside, no big deal. Lots of people do that. I really don't understand why you just didn't take down the garage, and you already said that the garage doesn't have good grounding on it as far as its foundation. you're going to have to put a new foundation for the ADU. Why not just put it there?
It doesn't seem like a viable thing to me, I guess, to take down a structure, an old structure like that. I don't,
I mean, it's not historic.
well, I don't know what year it was built, actually.
Anyway.
And
Okay,
it's actually-
you've answered my question, thank you.
And
Right,
it's
I-
shingled in a beautiful old, is it red cedar shingle?
You know, I don't have the answer to that
Okay,
question.
but it's in a big, broad, old cedar shingle, correct?
Right.
And conceivably, you would still be allowed to build this outbuilding. If we were to call it a garage, you'd be allowed to build it as far as you know, correct? It's within the setbacks, we're not over lot coverage. So what we're talking about here is whether we build a separate outbuilding, call it a garage. So we knock down one garage to build another garage. That
I could have two
would sort of be an
garages, though.
allowed use. We could go around the musical chairs cycle of working with the statute, but instead my client, in an effort for transparency, is here saying, look, the way the plot's laid out, the way the access points are, the way the surrounding properties are laid out, that it made sense to put the auxiliary dwelling structure in the rear of the property rather than immediately adjacent to the existing residence.
Okay, any other questions, board members? Ms. Hicks?
My two initial questions were already asked by other board members, but my third question is, if the ADU is sited where you're proposing, where is the parking for the residents of the ADU? Would they share the same driveway that's currently there?
No, that's not how, there's a little thing on there that says proposed driveway on the top. Oh, Right, it's about there, roughly, right.
Coming
14
in
feet.
from
From the
Willard?
street, yep.
So there would be two driveways, two
Correct.
parallel driveways on that
No,
property?
well, the other driveway's on the other side, so they'll be apart.
They'd be apart, but they're still parallel.
Yes, they are
Right,
parallel.
correct, yeah.
And in fact, the proposed drive would be adjacent to the neighbor's lawn driveway that would go back about the same thing. They would both be a couple feet off the property line and be located in that area. And I have some photographs that will show you that. And if you look at the overflight, you'll see that the neighbor's lawn driveway is there, and then there's a stack of wood there as well. You can see where his vehicle's parked there. So we believe, again, that it would be in conformance with the neighborhood and the surrounding area to have that lawn driveway going to the rear of the property.
Okay, so I guess my follow-up question, Mr. Gorman, is there any regulation regarding having two driveways on the same property?
I'm not aware of a regulation that would prohibit it, but
Okay.
the owner would have to receive a permit to cut the driveway in, so to speak, from the Department of Public Services, and they typically mark out the dimension and location and make sure there's, no fire hydrant or utility pole in the way. But it's my understanding there's not a prohibition on a second driveway.
Okay. Any other questions, board members?
It's not, again, it's in conformance with the surrounding neighborhood. So it's our position that it's in conformance with the surrounding area, that there are other ADUs in and around the area, and that having two dwelling units and conceivably a driveway for each dwelling unit's, again, in conformance with the surrounding area, your comprehensive plan. I can go into great detail on the comprehensive plan matters if anyone has any concerns or anyone has an objection to my statement that it is in conformance with the comprehensive plan. I'm sure there are a number of butters who'd like to speak here tonight, and I'd like an opportunity to speak after them.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, is there anyone here in support of the application? No? Okay. Anyone want to speak in against or opposed? So anyone here author of the letter that wants to start? Come on up. So again, just please state and spell your name.
Yeah, my name is Daniel Moretti, Moretti. I live here in Wakefield for the last 13 years. Originally grew up in
Oh,
South...
hang on. Do you swear to tell the whole truth and
Oh, I
nothing but the
do,
truth?
yes.
All right.
Right
Excellent.
hand. I do.
Yeah.
Not my
It's
left
okay.
hand.
It looks right. It's a mirror.
Sorry.
So please, go ahead.
Anyway, been here for 13 years. I live to the south of 232 Willard. Mine is 224. It's probably one of the oldest houses on the street, the old Stedman House. I've been there for 125 plus years. Probably one of the original farmhouses. And I've witnessed over the last 13 years a lot going on in Wakefield, as everyone else has. To one point, I'm not a lawyer, so anyways, I learned a real lot by doing the research, which was really confusing to some degree, and Amy here helped a little bit by sending me the statute from the state, and I kind of tried to digest that a little bit. One thing about ADUs in Wakefield, on Willard Avenue, there are 2 ADUs that were built on existing footprints, okay? One was a rehab on the corner of Highland and Willard, and the contractor was actually told he should just tear it down. And the building inspector might know that house, which was almost falling down. But in the back, there was a footprint there and a kind of dwelling. Anyways, he rehabbed the whole thing, built an ADU by right, okay, on the back. The other one is at 114 Willard, down the street. An old house has been there for many years. The back garage is an ADU, has been converted. There's another one on Kenwood that's a main house with a garage, maybe about 10 years ago, was converted to an ADU. There are no ADU new builds on the whole street, okay? There aren't any. Even at the other end in Rodman, there's a brand-new rehab that happened on an old house that had been sitting there for years, trees growing in it, 2 footprints, the foundation and a back garage. Someone bought that, rebuilt the house completely, and put an ADU in the back. So part of the point of what we're experiencing in here is the concept of a new build ADU, and why is that important? Why is it necessary when the choice within the statute is that either you live there, so if the applicant lived there, we wouldn't be here, right? If the lot was 20,000 square feet, we wouldn't be here. Or if they decided to, as someone suggested, why don't you just knock down the garage and build something there, we wouldn't be here for that either.
No, we would be here for that.
Oh, we would too?
Yep, they'd still need a dimensional variance for, because they're still under the 10,000 square feet.
Well, in the law here, under number 3, for one of these, it says where a proposed ADU is located within the existing footprint of a primary structure or existing accessory attachment or detached structure, it does not expand the footprint of the structure.
I believe it's because it's already an existing dwelling. It's not currently an outbuilding. So something that isn't purposed as a living dwelling. If it's going to change from an outbuilding to a ADU, it's got to be under this situation, because they're under 10,000 square feet. That's why we're here, is because the lot is under 10,000
Oh, I
square
thought
feet.
the way the law was reading, you had to have at least one of these in place. Am I not right?
I'm going to try and clarify. So
Yeah, please.
3 criteria, it would be allowed as of right if the lot is 20,000 square feet or greater. If the ADU is for a family member with a disability, that's number 2. And 3, being within the existing principal structure or accessory structure, provided the footprint doesn't expand. So the garage that's currently here could be, converted to an ADU as of right, provided it doesn't get expanded in footprint.
I stand corrected.
So that was correct, right?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. Sorry about that.
So anyway, and then the other part of this, the hardest thing for us, well, there's a bunch of folks here who don't want this. I have nothing personally against the applicant. I know her. She lives down the street. We just looking at, if you could look at, I sent a picture to the building inspector to see, if you want to look at here's what it looks at from the street level. You were seeing it from Google Maps. If you look up on the screens, the left is the driveway going in. The next picture to the right, to the top, is the front view from Willard. The picture to the bottom left is looking in the driveway of the neighbor, and 232 is to the left, hidden behind the telephone pole in the bushes. And then the last one is looking as the driveway as the neighbors on the right, and that green area in the back is where the proposed ADU is supposed to go. The square footage of the footprint is the same size as the house, so if you can imagine a one-story house sitting right in that backyard, that's what it would look like. So, and then a driveway going in, knocking down a 100-year-old stone wall to get in there. So that's kind of the factual part of it as far as my understanding goes. The other part of it is that the hardship, I had no idea how to define hardship. What is this hardship, you know? So is the hardship that the lot's smaller than it's supposed to be? I mean, I don't understand. Is that true or not? Is that?
Well, technically, yes. Sorry, technically, yes. I mean, it's not to the current size, you know, but it wasn't by the fault of the current owner to make it smaller and not sort of fit the regulation is the idea, so.
Okay. So because it's under 20,000 square feet, that's the hardship.
Well, not necessarily, yeah. so-
I would just say I don't know how the legislators arrived at the 20,000. It likely may have changed, you know, and been greater or less than, but how they landed on the 20,000, I can't say.
Right. So it's up to the applicant to prove the hardship related to the fact that it is undersized.
Okay.
To then prove to us, or.
Why
you
you
know,
should say it's okay.
why it should be okay.
Okay.
Right.
So, I mean, the other thing I want to understand is that we all know that if you're in business and you're in the real estate world and you want to build houses and you want to make money, you want to make a profit, right? So to me, I'm not being, negative about this, but to me, this is just a new rental being built. And that both places are going to be rented and it's for profit. And to me, that's not a good reason to give a variance. Personally, I mean, I don't know, I don't do your job. I'm just thinking about what the reasoning behind ADUs are. And then also within the state level, the home rule thing has gone out the window, we know, because the state is forcing this new law down everyone's, communities that they have to abide by these laws. And the point is that, within the context of what we're trying to think about doing here, is affordable housing really being addressed at all by ADUs? I seriously doubt it. Providence Journal article said no. McKee's plan was like basically a blow up, like this isn't working, to say that this is happening. So much building going on in South Kingston, we know. We see it all over the place. To me, ADUs aren't a solution for affordable housing, and it's just, to me, if you look at this property, it's beautiful, it's historic in one sense. It hasn't been there 125 years, but the person who lived there for, 50 years. She was an English professor at URI, good neighbor for many years. And, to see the same size, single-story house being kind of planted right in the backyard, it seems a little bit two-bedroom, two-bath, kitchen, etc., 960 square feet, seems a little much under the circumstances. I don't think I have anything specific left to say about that, except that on the zoning application that you all have everybody fill out, on the second page, there's under the variance, under letter E, you actually quoted this already, but I just want to understand this, that in granting a dimensional variance, that the hardship that will be suffered by the owner of the subject property if the dimensional variance is not granted shall amount to more than a mere inconvenience, meaning that the relief sought minimal to a reasonable enjoyment of the permitted use to which the property is proposed to be devoted. The fact that it may be used may be more profitable, or that a structure may be more valuable after the relief is granted shall not be grounds for relief. It's in the application, right? So I just wanted to.
I've already tried to answer a couple things and I did it wrong. So I'm going to let, Amy, did you hear that? So you want to help us out with that language? Because I know we've talked about that many times about what a more than a mere inconvenience and the gain.
So you know that the General Assembly amended that statute to explain what more than a mere inconvenience means. Minimal to a reasonable enjoyment of the permitted use to which the property is proposed to be devoted. So that's what the statute says, that's what it means. Financial gain was taken out of the statute.
So it makes it hard as a single item to use that. I think if there are degrees, like we hope that things are cut and dry for us here, but then there sometimes are degrees where things get a little challenging for us to make that determination solely on the merits of it. And so I think if there's a sense that people want to manipulate a property for other than, for growth of a family or whatever it might be, if it's seen as purely to take advantage of the property and not necessarily to consider the surrounding area and the other factors, I think is when it gets something that we might bring up and use.
Right,
So,
and that's part, I think, I don't know if some other folks might want to speak too, but that's part of what we're talking about.
okay, well, hang on one sec. Mr. Daniels?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Moretti, you testified that there are several ADUs in your neighborhood that you're familiar with. Were they all by right, or did they come for, I don't recall any of those coming for...
I would say they were by right only because they were there for a long time or rehabbed. It's
Okay.
just what my understanding. I don't know if the
And
building inspector knows.
are those lots under 20,000 square
Yeah.
feet, do you know?
One of them for sure I know. Yeah.
One of them, but
One
not
of them,
all?
the corner of Highland and Willard.
I don't know, but it's possible Mr. Moretti may be referring to units that were built under the accessory apartments regulations.
Yeah, it was probably before the new law was there, but yeah.
Yeah, and that was when we had to stay under a certain square footage, under 750 square feet, and I think it was the one-bedroom rule as well.
Right,
So
right.
those were part of the earlier, and then the new legislation sort of blew all that up.
Right.
So, so a lot of what we expected before and what's permissible now, knowing that anything over 20,000 square feet, you can add a ADU without coming here.
Right.
Exactly. You know, it's a lot of properties that are eligible.
Okay.
So,
Like I said, I'm not a lawyer, and I could try to go through every point that I thought would be a point to argue about, but some of the other folks might want to say something about it. The concept of self-created hardship, I don't know if the counselor here can explain that. For example, if the home was purchased before the new state regulation came in, then it would have had to have gone for the variances in the laws that existed then in the town, which were more restrictive than the law that exists now, correct?
well, just because something is undersized doesn't mean someone doesn't have the right to ask us. That's
No,
the whole
no.
point of the variance,
Yeah, I
right?
mean, I remember reading about the variance, about the ADU law, that you had to live in it for 6 months, and, I mean, it was pretty restrictive.
Before, yes.
Right.
Now, it's loosened
not.
up quite a bit.
So, is a
Yep.
self-created, could it be construed that you buy a house with the old ordinances in place, you know what they are, and then it changes to your advantage, and then you try to capitalize on it?
Sure,
Right.
yeah.
Is that a self-created hardship?
Well, no, not necessarily.
really?
I mean,
Okay.
anyone's allowed to ask,
Ask,
is the point, you know? And it's up to us to sort of determine based on feedback from the neighbors as well as sort of the
Thank you.
impact
So
to the neighborhood.
I'm all, I don't have anything else to
Okay.
say
Well,
unless
hang
someone
on.
asks a question.
Is there anyone else that has questions for Mr. Moretti? Nope. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Appreciate it. Anybody else want to come up? Come on up. And what we're hoping for is that folks can give us some different insights. I mean, certainly you can say, I agree with Mr. Moretti on this, and this, but just, let's try to,
We're going to keep it quick and short. all right?
thank you very much.
All
So
right.
please state and spell your
Yeah.
name.
Good evening. My name is Jim Patalano, Jimpatalano, and I do solemnly swear that I'm doing everything I need to do here.
And tell the truth.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
I want to thank you all for the opportunity to express, and I'm going to tell you why a little bit earlier. When I got the notice of an ADU back in October for this particular property, and I looked at the property, and I looked at the house that was on it, I lived 2 houses over, and the large garage that's on it, I said, why would anyone have to build anything more? Because it's a small lot, beautiful, nice stone driveway and everything. So I was confused. I said, why would someone need to do this? Well, I talked to neighbors, it's a rental property. I said, okay, yep, they want to buy. I said, this is a gorgeous neighborhood. I walk every day, retired. I've been here 16 years. I grew up in Providence. And in Providence, I lived in 3-decker. And the landlord lived in that house. And that 3-decker was gorgeous. When they moved out, it stayed okay, then declined. What I don't want to have happen to this wonderful neighborhood, because Wakefield and South County has neighborhoods. And in a neighborhood, the zoning was put in to try to protect the rights of our neighborhood. Yes, I think she's a wonderful person. She lives in the neighborhood. But when you ask, you say, would you put one of these in your backyard? Probably, oh, I don't know. So I say, I don't think it's really needed here or necessary. The house size, you've seen the picture up there. Now I'm going to run a driveway. I'm going to take down all the stone in the front. What am I going to do? Okay, I'm going to try to make it nice. As we go in time, that's why we have the zoning in place, so that over time, my grandkids, their kids, because they'll be here, this is a tough place to get into because of the neighborhoods we've created. So I just want to thank you and hope that we are strong about holding the rules of our zones so we don't decline like other places I've been in. That's all I got to say.
Thank you. And board members, any questions for Mr. Patalano? Did I say that right?
You're good.
All right. That's it?
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate you. Anyone else want to speak on behalf of this petition?
My name is Donna Judevine, J-U-D-E, V like Victor, I-N-E. I live right across the street.
And you swear to tell the whole truth and
I
nothing but
do.
the truth? Excellent. So please tell us what you'd like to say.
I do. I don't know where to begin. When I first heard about this, I couldn't believe that they could put 2 houses on 17,000 square feet. If you look at it visually, I just can't believe it. The garage, we seem to all be accepting that it's not buildable. That's a concern to me because I really thought that would be the perfect solution, maybe a second story with a chairlift. I don't think that a 2-bedroom, 2-bath is an in-law apartment. I think it's a rental. And that really scares me for my neighborhood. We've all been there a long time. Sally was there 27 years. Steve and I have been there, we're in our 17th year. If I ask the neighbor next to me, they've been there longer than I have, and the neighbor on my other side, we are well established. We have 50-year-old plantings. It's very quiet. It is true that there are condos right across the street from me. You'd never know it. And they own their condos. We all own our own homes. And all of a sudden, we have, a real estate person buys Sally's home and turns it into a rental. That amazed me. And I do accept she's trying. She's gotten great people in there. But that won't always be true. Things are already changing. Houses are becoming available. It won't always be true that you can rent to people that you like. And so in the end, what happens is that you've got a 3-bedroom house and a 2-bedroom accessory unit, and you've got students in there who double up. And because they all have different schedules, they also have double up on their cars. So you have a potential here for 6 cars in one house and 4 in the other. And that is if they don't use the dining room as a bedroom. I owned land down in Tuckertown, and there was a very bad situation there on Brown Bear Road. We won't go into that. It was just really awful. But they did solve it. Anyway, ADUs in our neighborhood. Willard is a very short street. There are only 2. Kenwood isn't anywhere near this situation. There are only 2. The only one I know of is the one on Highland, and that seems to be a huge piece of land. There's a lot of room around that ADU. This isn't going to be a lot of room. The other problem here is there's absolutely no room for a second driveway. There isn't. We have this situation where South Kingstown wants a 10-foot, off of a building, and the state law says 6.5, and so we have to accept that 6.5, which I do understand that. But I do have to say to you, we're not Providence. People in Providence are moving here because they want more gracious lifestyle. They want the plantings and the greenery. That's another thing. The things that are going to have to be taken down for this is not just the beautiful rock wall. There are 3 trees that have to come down. One is not on Sarah's property. One is on the property hovering over this ADU. And the owner fears that that tree, a branch might come down and damage the ADU, and she would have to repair that. So that tree has to come down thousands of dollars, right? And for us, the lack of our skyline, which is happening everywhere, we're all taking down our big trees with the big winds that are coming. So our skyline is thinning out, our greenery is thinning out, things that we cannot help are changing. But this is something that we can help. And I just really hope that it doesn't happen. I find it to be a very, setting yourself up for a cash cow right across the street from me. And I just can't believe it. The garage situation, I don't know where to go with that. And I agree that removing that foundation would be very much like building a new foundation on the other side. And I really don't understand an in-law apartment where the relative isn't near. Sarah lives very far away. I lived down there for 2 years before my 17 years in my house, and it's lovely down there also, but it is far away. That is not a run to your mom. That's a get in the car. And I just hope that there's something that you can do to help us out. Thank you.
You're welcome. Well, before you take off, is there any questions for this witness? No. Sorry. Thank you. Anyone else want to come up? Good evening.
Hello.
Hi. Just
I'm
state and spell your name, please.
Jane Francis, JaneFrancis.
And you swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the
I
truth?
swear to tell the truth.
Okay, go ahead.
I am the neighbour who lives behind on Rockland Drive.
Okay.
I've been there for 20 years. And all that lovely greenery is on my property from back when it was a farm, actually. These are not specimen trees.
Yep, just bring the mic. Yep.
They're not
Thank you.
specimen trees, but they are very, very large. And I just simply don't know what will happen when you build a 30-foot basement for this property. So that's one of my concerns. I also agree with the things that other people have said before me, but I have nothing to say in terms of the law. If it's law that you have 6.5 feet and then you can build a building, That's just a shame. It is just, it's not like downtown Wakefield. We're still very, very lucky. Yes, there are condos, but there are also 100-year-old oak trees. There's a historical cemetery on the corner. On my side, on my street, opposite, there's a nature preserve. It's more getting towards Ministerial and South Road and that very country feel of country roads. And all of a sudden, it seems there's nothing I can do about it. I will have a new building that has windows on all sides that will look directly into my property, 6 feet away from these trees and my backyard. My property is slightly up a hill, and it will overlook, and certainly once the trees are gone, it will completely overlook and all the way to the main road. And I wish there was something that we could do so that the stone wall didn't have to come down, the old plantings didn't have to come down, my trees didn't have to get taken down, and some of the way of for this lady to be able to make her money, her investment, without having something built 6.5 feet away from where I live. So thank you for hearing my concerns.
No, thank you. Board members, any questions for the neighbor? Thank you, Ms. Francis. Anyone else want to speak on behalf? Come on up. Oh, well, you can come up next.
My name's Steve Horton. I live next door.
And spell your name for us, please.
Horton.
And you swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth? Go ahead, Mr. Horton.
I've lived on Willard, well, lived in South Kingston my whole life. I've lived on Willard since 2009. And I think I can speak for all the neighbors that nobody's happy about this. It's going to affect all of us negatively. We're losing privacy. We're losing beautiful vegetation. It's probably going to affect me more than any of the other neighbors because I'm right next door. The driveway is going to be running parallel to my driveway. Like we've mentioned, part of the stone wall is going to have to come down. 3 beautiful hydrangeas, probably 75 years old, are going to have to come down that I've been looking at through my kitchen windows for the last 15 years. And now I'm going to be looking at a driveway and who knows how many cars. I think we all bought in the neighborhood because the neighborhood was established, single-family homes, and now all of a sudden we're going to have an ADU, 2 families on 1 lot. Doesn't seem right. I don't think a lot of us would have bought there that we thought this was going to happen to our neighborhood. And the other big thing to me is, well, we've mentioned the swing set. I'll lose all my privacy back there. They're going to have to take all that vegetation down, just like Jane was saying. And my grandkids come quite often to play, and now I'm going to have a house 20 feet away from the swing set. And the other big thing that concerns me is there's a very high water table in that neighborhood. When we get a heavy rain now, the water sometimes will rush down from 232 Willard down my driveway. What's going to happen when all the vegetation is taken down? Another driveway is put in parallel next to mine. Where's that water going to go? Is it going to create more water problems? And what's my recourse if there is? I'm really worried about that. To me, there's no hardship here. It was a self-created hardship. She knew that the lot was undersized, and it's to make money on the property. That's basically what we're talking about here. So,
But you understand that she can build where the garage is? Like, she can put an ADU where the garage is, right
I
now?
understand that, yeah, and I understand why she doesn't. Okay, that's fine.
Well, but she still could. I mean,
She
so
could.
the intensity aspect of it can still happen
Yeah,
in terms of, but it just wouldn't disturb as much of the property because they'd be using the existing driveway and existing garage.
right.
So, and unfortunately, greenery, we have no control over.
I understand that.
And
You can
water
understand my
management-
concern, though, because if you remove all that grass and you
Yep.
move all those shrubs,
I mean, and when
it's
you're
going to have an
building,
effect.
by state rules, that when you build something, you cannot dump water on someone else's land. You
Right.
have to contain that water and treat that water on your own land.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't like run a downspout to someone else's property anymore.
Get that, yeah.
But and in terms of the water management on the site, or if the site is suitable or not, that's not why we're here. That we don't judge the property basically on its ability to be built other than wetlands. That's the only thing that
Right.
is sort of regulated by the building department, not even by us. And it would have to be within the survey for it to identify those wetlands, but that's regulated by a whole different division. It's not by us, unfortunately. But it's more or less just to point out that the intensity still can change. And it can change on every property that either has a garage or is more than 20,000 square feet in the town of South Kingstown. And right or wrong, that's just the way it is now, unfortunately. And my property and the ones around me are just as vulnerable. So I understand and respect that.
Yeah,
So,
well, it's certainly going to make it more vulnerable.
absolutely. So, but I just wanted to clarify that,
I get it.
just to be sure, because I certainly hear the concerns everybody has about intensifying the property and disturbing sort of the balance that exists there now. So, thank you.
Okay.
Board members, any questions for Mr. Horton? Do you have anything else to add?
Nope.
I don't want to
Good.
cut you off.
Okay, all right.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Unless there's someone else. Yep, you got to come up to the mic, though. So just state your name again, please.
Donna Judavine.
Yep.
An ADU built above the garage or on the footprint of the garage is going to be a one-bedroom, one-bath.
It could be more.
The proposal, I know the size of the garage. I don't think so.
Depending on the
Unless she's-
size of the bedrooms, but yeah. I mean,
Okay.
I'm not sure. I mean, they could also
Okay.
go up.
It's not a particularly beautiful garage. It's just a garage. We had pictures up here before, but I believe it'd be much more appropriate for an in-law. It's not going to be, well, like you said, depends on the size.
Yeah, it
All right.
depends on the size, unfortunately. So, okay, anyone else want to add something? You want to come on up? No, that's fine. You can support it. We'd love to hear from you. So again, just please state and spell your name for us, please.
Marilyn Getty, Marilyn Geti.
Okay, Ms. Getty, what would you like to say? Oh, I'm sorry. Do you swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I swear to tell the
Okay.
whole truth and nothing but the truth.
Go ahead, Ms. Getty.
And, yeah.
Thank you.
I know my daughter has put in a tremendous amount of thinking time, of planning time, of talking to make it the best structure and the most pleasing structure, and creating the most privacy for each of the neighbors, and if I were to live in it, for me. And I understand that change is difficult. And those bushes that are on her property, I love bushes, I love vegetation, but hopefully, I'll want something beautiful too. So I'm sorry about change, but I know she's done a good job. And I don't want to live right in that right, so close to the house, like where the garage is.
Hang on, though. Ms. Getty, any questions by board members? For any? No? Okay. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Mr. Shadat, you want to finish up?
I will. Mr. Chair, I thank you for addressing the concerns the neighbors have regarding water and drainage and other things. And I think the intent, you're very well speaking to the intensity, Mr. Chair. And to that effect, I'm going to enter some things into evidence, a series of photographs that depict a number of things. And in fact, the the last photograph in the package that I'm going to provide shows the condos that are directly across the street, which are a significant degree of intensity and well above your future land use map suggestion of 5 per acre. If you do the math for this property under your comprehensive plan, which this is, again, this project is in conformity with, it's 1.96 dwelling units per acre is the recommendation, which effectively is 2 dwelling units, which again are allowed by right on this site as duplexes are allowed by right. Yes, it would have to be attached to the existing structure. But again, I'm going to ask that this package of photographs be put in as exhibit, I believe I'm on exhibit 2.
Thank you.
I apologize. Someone changed the settings on my copy machine as I was making these, and I only got one set of color copies, so I apologize.
All fun. Good.
So going through this photograph, you can see the driveway on the front photograph is the neighbor's driveway with his vehicle parked where it is actually in my photograph and actually in the aerial that you saw and that was presented here tonight as part of your staff's application, as well as his driveway compacted. And you can see from this photograph as well as some of the minor topography on the survey that the land tends to slope actually towards my client's property and not towards the neighboring property. The second photograph shows you the density of the trees and the cover in the back of the photograph, which a lot of that density is actually on the neighbor's property as she testified, and that will act as a visual barrier. Again, speaking to the fact that the general characteristics of the surrounding area and the intent and purpose of the zoning ordinance and the comprehensive plan of the town will not be impacted and in fact will be in compliance with the same. The third photograph, as well as the fourth and fifth photograph, are document the state of the foundation. As you can see, it is a rubble foundation of the existing garage. It is not, it's effectively holding together. It would not be something that could be built, as my client spoke to, based upon her personal knowledge and evidence that she's gone out and obtained. I have no documentation that I've been able to uncover to support the idea that this is a 100-year-old plus stone wall. You see a photograph in here which shows again the condominiums with their high intensity and unique zoning, which is actually an even higher degree of intensity above the R10 zoning where this property is located. and the number of cars and the significant amount of hardscape on that small lot across the street, which is, again, speaking to the granting of a small dimensional variance for an allowed use of an auxiliary dwelling unit and/or a secondary dwelling unit on the site. And the last photograph is to show the condominiums that are on that street across the way, as well as the significant hardscape that's on that site across the street. I would suggest to you that we are also in conformance with your zoning ordinance as proposed, in that we are not exceeding the lot coverage of the site or the hardscape on the site as proposed. We are well within the requirements of that, and again, are within the general characteristics of the zoning ordinance and the intent and purpose of your zoning ordinance. And I would suggest to you further that this is an allowed use, or asked that is allowed by right, and that the not being allowed to do such an activity due to a small dimensional change would amount to more than a mere inconvenience, such that the relief sought here is minimal to a reasonable enjoyment of the permitted use to which the property is proposed to be devoted. In the interest of establishing a record as well, I will enter a number of documents here into evidence, which are excerpts from your comprehensive plan. So I guess this will be Exhibit 3. Been a lot of talk tonight about rentals and change and how long people have lived on sites and the general characteristics of the surrounding area. And I would suggest that while these folks' personal beliefs they're entitled to, their statements about this type of zoning district are not in conformance with your comprehensive plan and your town ordinance. The town comprehensive plan, I believe approximately 16 to 19 times mentions the word infill, especially within the sewer districts and within the central district, which is what this area is, the Seward urban development. And yes, this is considered an urban part of South Kingstown by your future land use map. Infill and utilization of existing developed space is what your town comprehensive plan calls for. It calls for it on numerous different locations. It calls for on page 51, within the Seward urban development, that you should have a density rating of 5 dwelling units per acre. Well, based on that math, again, a minimum of 2 dwelling units should exist on this property, as is contemplated by your zoning and future land use map and its analysis. Moving on to page 33, this is one of the central village areas. And the idea here is to design and to bring infill and to bring more dwelling units into this area. And the only way it's going to happen is with infill. There are other areas of your comprehensive plan that speak exactly to that, that it is historically cost prohibitive to do development and to bring in new dwelling units into your developed areas, into your urban sewered areas. And this is where the town council, and all of the folks who've poured a lot of energy and information into your town comprehensive plan and your zoning ordinance want this. It's where your infrastructure can sustain higher density development. And it meets all the requirements for development under your sewer ordinance. Specifically sections 19115 of your Town Code of Ordinances suggests that and promotes development within the sewered areas wherein you don't have to have additional sewer lines created and there's no additional need for costly infrastructure. There is an existing sewer line here, both the main structure and the proposed ADU, as well as if this were to be a duplex, would all be serviced by the existing sewer lines. And to speak to what the was asked about my client about her other property that she owns in the town of South Kingstown. Her other lot is approximately 11,000 square feet, and it's on septic. It's not within your sewered village area where your high-density development is promoted by your town comprehensive plan, by your municipal ordinances, and by your zoning ordinances. For example, on page 57 of your comprehensive plan, as South Kingstown continues to promote infill development within existing village and developed areas, needs and opportunities exist to ensure that development is keeping with the character of each village and neighborhood. The character as developed by your town comprehensive plan and your zoning ordinance are multiple dwelling units on each individual property in this area, as evidenced by the condo complex across the street, which is an even more dense zoning approved than as we're proposing. And to speak to housing, there seems to be this idea amongst some of the neighbors that the word rental is a four-letter word. But that's what your town comprehensive plan calls for. That's what the density provisions for the Seward Village District Sewage Village area calls for. In fact, in big, bold letters on page 60 of your town comprehensive plan, the town is looking for a range of housing options for diverse populations, including families, young adults, seniors, and single-family households. We're moving away from big houses with lots of bedrooms in them on big lots. It has not proven to be an effective way to build out our communities. It's caused urban sprawl. It's what is being pushed here by some individuals is exactly the opposite of what your zoning ordinance and what your town comprehensive plan call for. It calls for town programs and regulatory efforts, which is what you folks provide, to seek to provide appropriate housing opportunities in the community with a focus on infill development. That's what we're doing here tonight. That's what we're asking for. And redevelopment in the village areas. That's what we're here tonight asking you for. It is absolutely what your town comprehensive plan calls for. And while I respect that folks have lived in this area for some time and have enjoyed their properties, what we're asking for will not change the nature of the neighborhood, and it's in conformance with the general characteristics of the surrounding area and the purposes of your zoning ordinance and your comprehensive plan. Further, on page 166 of your town comprehensive plan, infill development within the villages is more complex and potentially more expensive. The town has an opportunity to make infill development more attractive for developers, not homeowners, developers, by investing in infrastructure and providing guidance on the scale and quality of the design desired. Well, herein, we're not asking for any variances with regard to setbacks. We're not asking for a height variance. We are doing just what your town comprehensive plan and your zoning ordinance call for. Infill development within the village districts. In fact, within the Seward Village District. It's what your plans ask for. And while some members of the community may not agree with that, these are our guiding documents that we have to abide by. And they suggest that we meet your criteria. It's the unique characteristics of this lot, the size, the locations of the existing structures. It just meets the elements of what were our guiding documents here. Continuing on page 68 of your comprehensive plan, it promotes one of the guiding principles is appropriately scaled housing. And as we're not asking for lot coverage, we're not asking for hardscape coverage, we are not asking for any relief other than the fact that this lot, when it was cut out, was just a little too small. That's all the relief we're asking for. We're not asking for relief that changes the characteristics of the neighborhood or is out of proportion or out of the general characteristics of the zoning ordinance or the comprehensive plan.
But on that, one thing we did not ask is, what is the square footage footprint of the existing house? Do you know? 1,700. That's the is that the total square footage or the footprint?
That's the total, 1722.
Of the whole house, 2 floors. But what is it for 1 floor? Like, what's the size of the house? Because the proposed is 30 by 27.
Correct. And I would suggest to you, and it's about the living space. It's not about the footprint of the structure. That's what the ordinance calls for.
No, I'm just asking, what's the size of the existing house that's there?
Mr. Chairman, if I could interject, because I have the tax assessors.
Oh, okay, yeah, please.
896 would be the footprint
So
approximately.
the same size is what you're proposing?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, the footprint is the same size, Mr. Chair, but
Sure.
we're not proposing a second story.
Yeah, but it's the same footprint.
It's the same footprint, but
Sure.
it's proposed is less than 60% of the living space in the primary structure as is required by the ADU.
Yeah, I'm just
Ordinance.
trying to get a perspective as to the existing building versus what you're asking as an accessory as opposed to it
Again,
being a
but
second house.
In the accessory, it's in a dwelling unit, yeah. It most certainly is a dwelling unit.
Okay.
But the key being that the accessory height limit is well below a primary building unit. And we
Understood.
are coming in below that.
Yep.
And below the immediately adjacent outbuilding of the neighbor. We are going to be less in height than that structure that's currently there, currently creating a, what we call it, a skyline. I don't remember the word that the abutter used, but it's going to be below the existing buildings and that are there, and certainly in conformance with their size, scale, and shape. That is a very large garage, very large outbuilding on the neighbor's structure, which again is in conformance with the surrounding neighborhood and community.
Correct. Yep.
It is,
And certainly he can make that into an accessory dwelling.
has every right to make that into an
Absolutely.
accessory dwelling unit.
Yep.
And again, I'm going back to the position that my client spoke to, which is, if she were to put a duplex on this site, we would attach it to the primary structure. We could build another driveway, and it's an allowed by right use, and she could have weekly rentals in that thing. She could do whatever she wanted, but rather than do that, she took a lot of time and energy and tried to place something that she believes is more appropriately scaled and more appropriate for the site in a more appropriate location on the site. In fact, and duplexes are allowed on the site. The neighbor's suggestion that having another dwelling unit on the property is out of conformance with the neighborhood just doesn't jive with the controlling documents that we have to discuss here today. In fact, citing page 93 of your comprehensive plan, duplex construction and conversion is allowed by right in an R10 and an R20 zones. But there has been little interest in this approach, and the town regulations are promoting alternative methods other than duplexes, and that's what we're here doing tonight and we're here asking for. Rather than taking the biggest bite, my client's saying, let me scale back a little bit, let me take into account the site, its unique conditions, its existing conditions, and to build something that she deems is appropriate. And I would welcome a condition from the board about buffering with the neighbor and preserving his privacy with regard to his playground area and his right to back there. We have no objection to that in any way. Whether it be a fence or arborvitae's, I would, let the neighbors figure that out on their own. I would suggest a green buffering or vegetative buffer rather than a fence, but that's certainly within the board's prerogative to do. Again, just establishing my record, Mr. Chair, on pages 99 and 101, there are again citations to within your comprehensive plan about the housing action plan and what the goals of the town should be with regards to housing, and are wherein the town is promoting different types of dwelling units and dwelling units that serve all members of your community. Smaller ones, smaller single-story dwelling units, things that folks who may have had a large home and had more income, as they downsize and as they age out, might be more affordable and might be more palatable and might be more accessible to those things. Places with 2 bedrooms, if you need a live-in caregiver, if you need an occasional caregiver, if you want a child or a family member to come visit you, to suggest that that 2 bedrooms versus 1 bedroom, again, the intensity issue, your controlling documents absolutely allow a second dwelling unit on the site. So I apologize for getting very technical, or at least somewhat technical, but I'd be happy to welcome any questions the board members may have. And if I could just have one moment to speak to my client first, or if there are any questions on what I'd said, be happy to try to field them.
Board members, any questions for Mr. Jeanette? No? Okay.
If I could just
Thank
have
you.
one moment, and then I'll conclude.
No, what do you mean, conclude? Okay.
Again, I believe we met your requirements of your zoning ordinance for a dimensional variance. I won't reiterate them for probably a 7th or 8th time.
Yep.
So with that, I would request that the board vote in favor of our application here tonight for a dimensional variance with regards to the size of the lot.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
You're welcome. All right, come on up. And then yep, no, you gotta go up to the mic.
Thing the counselor gave us about your...
Just state your name again, please.
My name is Daniel Moretti, one more time.
Yep.
Your comprehensive plan.
Yep.
Of course, I know nothing about it.
Sure.
Question I have is that, does the state law and regulation regarding ADUs supersede anything in your comprehensive plan that might overshadow that?
Yes, the zoning board is bound by the specifics in the state law. They're not yet in our zoning ordinance, but that's what applies now.
Okay, so therefore, all the verbiage we were just hearing about the comprehensive plan, which I think is great, and we see the development behind, that close to Main Street there, all the new, 4-family houses that have gone up in the last 6 months. It's pretty amazing, but Northwoods, a lot is $350,000 just for a lot, So it's a lot of stuff going on, but I thank you for that, and that's all I wanted to know.
Our comprehensive plan is not caught up with the state law yet.
Yeah, okay, so you would consider that in your judgment, I guess, for tonight.
We would.
Thank you, I appreciate your time.
Thank you. Okay. So, all right, so we're gonna close this.
Unless the applicant wants to have the last word.
You've heard a number of these requests for variances on ADUs since this statute has come into place. This is arguably a very small deviation from the 20,000 square foot requirement. And again, it just meets the elements of your comprehensive plan to focus on whether or not it's a rental. The economics of this just aren't relevant. What's relevant is you're controlling documents which promote infill, which promote density, especially in these unique areas in these Seward Village districts. So I'll be done.
Okay.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
And I
Thank
thank
you.
you all for your time. I know you're all volunteers and are doing this for the right reasons.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Oh. Thank you. Okay. Does anybody want to have the first word in discussion? I mean, if you're always good at it.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Daniels.
I have a number of issues. We spent a lot of time on a comprehensive community plan. It's this thick, as I'm sure you probably realize. I haven't looked at it recently, but I did look at one particular paragraph about scale and massing of development on page 57, which I don't believe you covered. I don't want to take a lot of time on a comprehensive community plan, but I think if we look at that, it says in part that South Kingstown sees an opportunity in the development of guidelines and regulatory tools to ensure future development is of a scale and physical mass appropriate for a proposed location. Efforts should be made to identify those areas where standards are most needed and develop appropriate guidance. And I think the town has. It has established a 20,000 square foot limit, and the state has also confirmed that is a limit, and it's something that the comprehensive community plan has addressed when it talks about scale and massing of development and the infill areas. So I just wanted to point that out, that maybe you possibly missed that or didn't direct it to our attention. I want to direct that to the attention of our board members. The testimony from the applicant was that the initial thought was that her mom would move in to an ADU on a piece of property where she doesn't live. If that's the case, I'm not sure why a two-bedroom is absolutely necessary when a one-bedroom would seem to be very appropriate, and I don't think that was discussed or testified to on behalf of the applicant. Secondly, there seems to be some agreement among those people that are objectors to this proposal, to this petition, that the garage might be, if the garage were turned into an ADU, we wouldn't be here, it'd be by right, and it would be more acceptable to the neighborhood than the proposal. That's what I think I am hearing from most of the objectors. The third point I have is that this creates a nonconformance, does it not?
Legally, it wouldn't be a nonconformance if you're allowing it by variance. It would create a structure existing by variance. Little different than it wouldn't have the same rights as a nonconforming structure, but I understand your point. It would create a structure that deviates from the zoning ordinance.
Okay, and that is something that is, I believe, covered in the comprehensive community plan, which does not promote increasing nonconformances, I believe.
A little bit different. I would think of more like a restaurant existing in a residential zone that's a legal non-conforming use, and then the zoning board maybe is allowing the restaurant to expand. But I understand the point. It's just a slightly different concept.
Okay, thank you. Built to the building official, is this a non-conforming lot as it exists?
No, Mr. Vice Chair, it has the frontage as well as the lot area for an R10 zone.
I'm sorry, say again?
It has sufficient lot area and frontage to satisfy the R10 requirements.
What is the zone there? It's an R20?
R10. So
R10?
10,000 square feet of,
Okay.
of lot area.
Okay. Once again, my feeling is that the 20,000 square foot limitation is there for a reason. It's been established by the state, it's been established by the town, and frankly, it seems to me that this is strictly for a rental. It isn't going to address, certainly not going to address affordability in South Kingstown, because there's no restriction here. The applicant could charge whatever she wants. It's not set up as affordable housing. It's set up as an accessory building to derive rent in an undersized lot, 17,000 square feet, where 20,000 is required. So those are my thoughts, and I would have a difficult time supporting this application.
Thank you, Mr. Daniels. Is there anyone else who wants to step up? Mr. Elio?
I would have to agree with my colleague on several issues. And additionally, I do believe that if the ultimate goal was to house a family member, I do believe that other options have not been fully explored that would allow the applicant to achieve that objective.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Elio. Mr. Rosen?
Yeah, I'm going to have to disagree with both my colleagues. First of all, let me say to the neighbors, predicting what's going to happen in the future is a hard game to play. Personally, we had a situation in my own neighborhood where somebody came in and wanted to build something which the entire neighborhood was against. That building went forward, and it turns out that it has been a boon to the neighborhood, in my estimation. When a new dwelling is brought into a neighborhood, it isn't the dwelling that's important, it's the people that come with it. And if those people fit into the neighborhood, are appropriate for the neighbors to accept as a neighbor, and as a matter of fact, befriend as a neighbor, it seems to me all for the good. Secondly, I'd like to say that we really do need a lot of ADUs. Not because we need more affordable housing specifically, but we as a nation are growing older. We need more structures that are one level. In particular, I as a senior citizen, and eventually I know that I'm going to have to move to into a house that I can get to each room without the possibility of falling down or etc. 2 bedrooms in a house, in an ADU, would be a substantial benefit, in my estimation, because as we do grow older, we're going to need caregivers to take care of us, to help us, to take us to the doctor, which increases in number daily almost. So I'm going to have to approach this as in disagreement with the 2 previous speakers, because I see this as potentially being a boon to this neighborhood and a necessary addition for the proposed owner and her mother in particular in the future. While it may not take place immediately, it's going to take place whether we want it to or not. So I will vote in opposition to whatever motion comes forward with respect to this petition. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rosen.
Well, I
Ms.
think
Hicks?
many of the comments that I have been covered by my colleagues, but while I appreciate, Mr. Sujit, all of your research into the comprehensive plan, again, it was written in 2021, prior to the new regulations that we now have to go by for accessory dwelling units. And so I'm looking at this more narrowly, where the new requirements say on a lot with a total area of 20,000 square feet. So while everything else you said about infill and all of that, very nice, but the question becomes, is this ADU appropriate for that site? And unless I hear something in the next few minutes before we vote, I honestly don't think it is. I think it's too big. I don't like the idea of the second driveway. I just don't think that it fits into that property.
Thank you, Ms. Hicks. Mr. McDonald, do you have any thoughts?
I understand how the neighbors feel and their concerns. Unfortunately, we have the new state regulations that really have reset the requirements and the setbacks and other items. I would prefer to see the garage done, but that's not that. I don't own the property, but I think that would fit better into what would be in character for the neighborhood. I concur with Mr. Elia and Mr. Daniels and really appreciate the information on the 20,000 square foot scaling and how important that is. And then if it's, right in our regulations, the hardship that if not granted amounts to more than a mere inconvenience. I don't believe that. I believe there is something they could be doing like the garage. So while I'm not voting, I would not support this application as it stands.
Thank you, Mr. McDonald. I would have to agree with the majority of my fellow members. I am concerned about the scale. At least in my expectation or my perception of this, the accessory aspect of it should not be as prominent as the main building. And I also do agree that the disturbance of the property is going to sort of change it in terms of having two driveways going in, and it's just going to certainly sort of change the scaling of the buildings in the area and the intensity of the buildings. I am interested in sort of seeing how the town responds to the ADU by the state in the mandate of having all of these properties now eligible for a majority of the properties in South Kingstown. I'm curious how the town is going to respond to it, because I don't think the expectation in the comprehensive plan is to sort of double the housing on every lot. But certainly I can respect the need or desire to add accessories, dwellings to it. So I also would not vote for it. So I do think certainly the garage is common in the neighborhoods to use those buildings. My neighbor, in fact, was just approved last month to change his garage into an ADU. So I certainly understand that these things are happening, but I think there are ways that we can do it in that is more respectful of the surrounding area. So with that, is there anyone that wants to make a motion, or do you? No, not necessarily. Should it be something, or do you want me to just make the motion and give it a shot, or how do you?
Yes, that's fine.
Okay. All right, I will make a motion to deny the petition of Sarah Isabella of 32 Willard Avenue for the dimensional variance, where they're seeking to construct a detached accessory dwelling unit on the lot that consists of about 17,400 square feet, where the minimum lot size to establish the ADU is 20,000. Tonight, we heard from a number of, well, we heard certainly from the attorney representing the owner, Attorney Serdat, who is representing the owner, Ms. Isabella, and they presented their plans as well as their justification for developing or for building the ADU on the property, and where they were proposing to situate it in the sort of back right of the property, and stating that their intent was to have little impact as possible, and but also to create a unit that would be off of the main building. They gave us a set of plans that had both elevations and footprint of the building itself. They also spent time describing the property itself and how the existing garage is a 1920s or so building with a fieldstone foundation. It doesn't look like it had any mortar in it, and that it was a dry-laid foundation. And they described that building as not being sufficient for retrofitting to a more permanent building or a living dwelling, as opposed to it being an outbuilding, so they didn't consider that. And they wanted to put the accessory dwelling unit on the opposite side of the property. The applicant's mother, Ms. Getty, also spoke in support of it, again, stressing the amount of time and effort that was in the planning of it to sort of find the best location on the property that would be suitable for its placement, and also maintaining the privacy of both the folks in the main dwelling as well as the accessory dwelling. But the folks that were speaking in opposition, we have a letter that was sent by Mr. Moretti that had described, and Mr. Horton as well, and Ms. Moretti as well, that had signed it back in October, that brought up a variety of concerns that they had about the building. The most relevant for us was the fact that there already is an existing footprint that's a two-car garage. And they also did bring up other aspects of the project that we didn't necessarily consider as relevant in terms of it not being owner-occupied. Certainly that, the concern for the neighbors, and Mr. Moretti and Mr. Horton, who were the immediate abutters, were especially that the lot's appearance would not maintain itself as a single household residence, and that it would alter not only the aesthetics of the property, but also change sort of the egress into the building. And then there were also concerns that the number of bedrooms would sort of create too many folks that would end up using it for parking and otherwise. And that the building being on a lot that was in a undersized lot, that the concern was sort of building a building that was equal to the size of essentially equal to the size of the main house. Also who came up were three other neighbors that had come up. Mr. Palatano, Ms. Judavine, yep, and Ms. Francis as well, who also spoke in opposition to it in terms of concerned about the intensification of the property, as well as loss of privacy, as well as some plant material that would also sort of be an issue. So, I think I already mentioned we also had 3 different exhibits that were also submitted to us. One is a revised, not a revised, but an overriding the location of the garage on the property. We have photographs of the surrounding area and the adjacent properties, as well as a copy of excerpts of our comprehensive plan. And so the findings of fact, we find that the hardship from the applicant sought it's not due to the unique characteristics of subject land or structure of the surrounding area, and is not due to any physical or economic disability of the applicant. I think asking for this, because it is a smaller lot, wasn't enough to say that, they should be able to build an ADU on there. I think the fact that it is a smaller lot is the reason why that makes it something that we are not comfortable in approving. If it were of over 20,000 square feet, then they wouldn't be here. So the board finds that the hardship, it's not the result of any prior action of the applicant, because the applicant, there was no there was nothing before this that the applicant did that caused us to deny it. So we do find that granting the proposal will alter the general character of the surrounding area, and it will impair the intent or purpose of the zoning ordinance of the comprehensive plan from which the ordinance is based. And we do find it would alter the character, and because of the scale of it, and we're also concerned that the introduction of the accessory dwelling as an additional structure on the property is against our comprehensive plan. I mean, I understand that it was proposed that our comprehensive plan does want more intensification of housing, which I think there's some truth to that, but I think in the case of trying to put too many buildings on one property for housing was not the intent of it, or was something that we felt that was against what the local character would support. So we find that the hardship suffered by the owner of the property of the dimensional variance is not granted, does not amount to more than a mere inconvenience, meaning that the relief sought was minimal for reasonable enjoyment, for the permitted use of the property is proposed to be devoted. So we, it's not a question of it being an inconvenience. This is something that they can still use their property, and by not approving this doesn't mean that they can't use the property. It just means that they can't have an accessory dwelling. So, all right, and so with that, I'll make a motion to deny the application. Can I get a second?
I'll second.
Second by Ms. Hicks. Any other discussion? Hearing none, Mr. Cagney. Oh, go ahead. Yep. Mr. Rosen.
Being in the minority, I just give some, and the one that brought up the one about the tearing down the garage, I would simply suggest that you tear down that garage and put something in there. What else can you do if you want to have something that can house your mother in the future? Anyway.
Okay. Any other discussion? Hearing none, Mr. Cagnetta, aye. Ms. Higgs?
Okay, explain, if I vote aye.
You would vote aye, we're voting to deny it. Yes. So aye. Mr. Elia?
Aye.
Mr. Rosen?
Nay.
Mr. Daniels?
Aye.
Motion is denied. Sorry. Thank you. And I'll make sure to get those to us. All right, so All right, so next. Oh, thank you. Next is the petition of Heather Hopkins, 107 Plains Road, South Kingstown, Rhode Island, 02879. Thank you. The applicant is seeking to appeal the notice of violation issued by the zoning enforcement officer dated October 20th, 2025, related to the premises at 107 Plains Road. The owner of the property is Heather Hopkins for premises located at 107 Plains Road, South Kingstown, Assessors Map 22-2, Lot 13, and is zoned R200. Is someone here tonight for that? Come on up. Figured it was you because you're the only one that didn't speak. So please state and spell your name.
Heather Hopkins, HeatherHopkins.
And you swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth.
So I figured I'd maybe help out a little bit,
Yep.
and because us functioning as an appeal to the zoning enforcement officer, it's our role is a bit different than what you just sort of witnessed here. So I think it's a matter of understanding the purpose of this, you know, and really understanding sort of what it is that was made as a violation to the property, right?
Okay.
So I'll start by having Mr. Gorman sort of explain a little bit about why we're here.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd start by saying this was investigated and the notice of violation was issued by my counterpart, Josh Brother, who's the code enforcement officer. So it was determined that the property was being used as a parking lot for vehicles, particularly students attending the University of Rhode Island that are not residing on the premises, which is a single-family dwelling. I believe the board's role this evening is to determine if, by this office, my office issuing the notice of violation, if that was the correct action or if it was not the correct action, and whether to uphold my decision or deny the decision.
So we received quite a number, I think I've counted 14 different folks that sent letters of support. So I mean, so understanding that that's the violation, right? That there's too many cars parked on the property, right? And so the challenge to this for us is that all those letters kind of said that that's what's being done.
They're not all currently parking there, by the way.
Okay.
I don't know if that helps the matter.
It does. I mean,
Okay.
so, I mean, I think, so I want to give you an opportunity to sort of speak about it.
Yep.
And so I just want to at least set it up for you a little bit, just
Okay.
so, because I felt a lot of passion about this, and my heart goes out to you, and I think it's great what you're doing, but it's not allowed. So I think it's just sort of starting with that.
Yeah.
Sort of understanding that I have compassion, and I know
Yeah.
everyone that works here and that is a part of this board has compassion. But you're not allowed to have everybody park there. So that being said.
This all started back in 2021.
Okay.
And somebody that I went to preschool with that doesn't live in the state showed up on my doorstep with his daughter and was basically like, you're parking your car here and she's your adult now.
Oh my.
I didn't know her.
Okay.
I didn't. So that's how it started.
Okay.
And I was like, okay, she can park here.
Yeah.
And then the next year, my older son started at URI, and I started getting local folks saying, my kid has a job.
Right.
He needs to pay for his tuition. He needs to have his job. He can't park on campus. We're too far away. Uber's too expensive to get back and forth.
Right.
Can he park at your house?
Sure.
Sure.
Makes
Can we give
sense.
you money? No, just park at my house. I don't care.
Right.
So that's kind of how it started.
Yep.
And then word of mouth kind of went around, and more and more people were asking.
Yep.
And to give you an idea, I currently have 38 people on a wait list to park at my house.
Okay,
I don't charge.
right.
I'm walking distance from campus. I didn't know I was breaking any rules.
Okay.
It's my property. I thought it was fine.
Sure.
The neighbors on both sides, totally fine with it. They both wrote letters of support.
Yes, they did.
The house, if you're looking at my house, the house to the left, the next house over is a URI property with cars lined up just like how my cars are lined up.
Right.
They're only really parked there for not even 6 months, and a lot of them are coming and going.
Right.
And then I have it as a wildflower pollinator garden in the spring and summer.
Sure.
So it's not paved. It's
Right.
not an impact for the environment. I didn't think I was doing anything wrong, but I understand now where I am. It's not that I
Sure.
was trying to break a rule, though.
No.
And it's just freshmen. The other thing that has happened a lot is kids just aren't coping. Like, especially since COVID, kids are really, really struggling. And just having access to their car so that they can get off campus, so that they can have a job, so that they can go fishing or go for a walk in nature,
Right.
has really been impactful. And to kind of drive the point home, last year I had 9 kids parking for at least part of the first semester. Only 4 of them actually made it through the first semester and came back the second semester because they just weren't coping. So it's a bad problem with our kids not coping. URI does not have appropriate parking for the amount of kids they have, so the alternative is parking at Wickford Junction, which is a 20-minute bus or Uber ride, which just isn't feasible for everybody. And I can't help everybody, but it's kind of like that story with the starfish, like picking up the starfish off the beach and throwing them back in the water. I'm not going to save them all, but that one was okay.
Yep.
I saved that one.
Yeah.
So I'm just trying to help, and I feel like South Kingstown rallies. Like, if somebody's in need, South Kingstown rallies and helps out. We're an awesome community like that, and I just kind of thought that's what I was doing. I wasn't trying to do anything bad here.
No, and that certainly wasn't the tone from the zoning enforcement officer.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, well, let me ask this. Is there any means for a property owner to ask for a relief to allow students to park on their property?
I think the question is using it as a parking lot that's not accessory to a single-family dwelling, which this is a residential zone, aside from, you know, like a use variance or, which I think would be a heavy lift
Right.
for the applicant. I don't think there would be an easy pathway to get that achieved, in my opinion.
Right, because, I mean, because if the considerations for us to consider, like, to have something like that would be about ingress and egress and making sure that things are just parking on a field isn't.
Well, I mean, you have
something we can-
the zoning district and then the use code schedule, which allows certain uses in certain districts. If it's not an allowed use in that R200 zoning district, I think, you know, it'd be tough to prove, you know, there's no beneficial use
Right.
of the property when there's currently a single-family dwelling there.
Right. So basically, we're saying it's not something that, it doesn't seem like that there's a way that the town can assist in something like this, you know, as it being part of a residential property,
If
you know.
it's not paved, it's temporary.
Go for it, man.
I have a thought.
Mr. Daniels.
I'm going to try to help you.
Okay, I
don't know if
appreciate that.
I'm going to be successful, but
Okay.
that's a town road, correct? What is the right-of-way from the center point to the edge?
It varies. It's not a one dimension.
Well, what would it be in this particular case?
Yeah, we would need a survey of the property, but, I mean, right now, you can see it's approximate, this yellow line being the edge of the property line.
All right, so some of those cars, or maybe all of them, are partially in the right-of-way of the town. Is that
Seems
correct?
accurate, yeah, seems accurate.
Is that correct?
I could also have them back further up. It's,
No, I don't want you to back them up
oh,
further.
okay,
I want you to be in the right-of-way of the town.
okay.
Because I think that makes a consideration. If those vehicles are partially on town property, I think we might be able to make the case that they're not necessarily on private property. That's a thought.
Are you allowed to park on that road?
Like,
Do you know what, the ordinance has a whole list of roads in the parking restrictions. I don't know if there's
I
no
don't think there's
parking
any
signs.
parking, like, I think it's fine. I think it's fine to park there because the lacrosse field is right up the road. And I know they just built the solar panel lot next to the lacrosse field. But for years, I've had cars for soccer games, lacrosse, all that, parked all the way up through in front of my house.
So let me ask you this. Have you had any police situation with the fact that you're parking the cars there? You have any violations?
Oh, absolutely not. They're actually happy about it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So you're right. If the cars were moved to, a road on which parking is legal, and they're not on private property, and Ms. Hopkins isn't collecting a fee, right? Then it would be okay.
So part of the vehicle is on town property. I mean, it's pretty obvious there.
But I think remember GIS, I know we refer to it all the time, but it doesn't substitute for a survey. And the other issue for the board, as the chair pointed out, is you're here to determine whether the violation that was issued was properly issued. Going forward, that is good advice to allow these students to keep parking in this general vicinity. But just keep in mind, you're here to determine whether the violation...
Yeah, no, I understand that.
I also think we have to be concerned about setting a precedent here of having other people follow in your footsteps. And I'm not saying that you're not doing trying to do a nice thing.
I have to say, people
And-
don't like college kids. Most people aren't going to let college kids anywhere near their
No,
property.
the other, I mean, and it has nothing to do with why we're here tonight, but the other thing is that, you are putting yourself in a position of liability.
Yeah,
where
I send out a text to the parents and the kids and
That doesn't
at
matter.
your
It's
own
going to take
risk. and-
one situation where someone's car gets banged, and they're going to come and blame you. So just so you're
I-
probably well...
Yeah, no, I've thought of that also, but I feel like most people are good people. The greater good of what I'm trying to do,
No, I know. I did drive by that area. My biggest concern is, one, setting a precedent that other people do it, and then you're increasing foot traffic on a busy road that's already very busy.
Can I add to that a little bit? I drive them back and forth. They can walk, but I drive them.
You're
I work from home.
Putting yourself in an even greater position of liability. I wouldn't. You're
But-
digging the hole deeper.
Yeah, I'm sorry. They all know I work from home. They can always text, and I'll bring them back and forth. Yeah. No, I don't have a second mortgage. I don't even have a mortgage on my house, so they can't take it because it's...
So, Mr. Gorman, how did this situation,
Often, we'll receive an anonymous complaint. We don't have a letter on file that I could produce, but I would suspect it's maybe somebody who drives by, because looking at the aerial, she doesn't have many neighbors, but certainly can't say for sure.
It seems like it didn't come through a neighbor complaint, or at least a direct abutter complaint, at least the people on either side.
Yeah. I only have 4 houses on my road, including mine, and all of my neighbors are fine with it.
yeah, I mean, I drove out there yesterday, and I realized it's winter break, so there was only one car parked there.
Yeah.
But when I proceeded along Plains Road after I went by your house, I noticed 177 Plains Road, which I assume is now a URI property.
It is.
and it looks like it was formerly a private home that was taken over by some department, and what's right out
It's
there?
all
A
the
huge parking lot.
Yeah, it's all
And
the,
so I saw the cars parked in your yard, your property, and then I see this big, I said, well, the optics,
it's the same.
you know,
They have more cars, but it's the same.
they have not
And
only
they're
a
paved.
parking lot, but electric car chargers on the road. And I'm sure because it's officially a parking lot, it's all legal.
Mr.
But-
Chairman, I'd make a suggestion that we uphold the zoning enforcement officer's findings, and then if the applicant would like to find another alternative solution, we would be open to working with you. But I think, I would suggest that we need to uphold
And,
that finding.
and I think, you know, the timing will work in the appellant's favor because it's winter break now, right? So normally, if you if you uphold a notice of violation, that gives the town the right to proceed with enforcement. I can't speak for Jamie and his colleagues. My guess is that this, you know, yes, there's a potential public safety issue, but this doesn't seem to, the town's not going to be taking her to court tomorrow, I can tell you that. So there's some time over the extended, I want to say 5-week winter break for potential other solutions.
Work with the applicant to find another solution.
Well, let me ask, get involved with this. Seems to me that URI is the one that really caused this problem. I have a picture here that shows URI trucks being parked there. Is
Not at
that
my
correct?
home. No, they are 2 houses down. So I'm at 107, that's at 177.
This isn't her property?
No, she's down the road.
Oh, that's the property down
So
the
I
road.
I submitted that picture because it's so
Anyway,
similar.
That's beside the point.
Okay.
You started out by saying that it's only freshmen, and freshmen are
Except-
not allowed to bring their cars to the,
Right.
and the reason that they want to bring their cars is legitimate reasons, I might say. It seems to me that somebody ought to be working with URI to get them to at least overturn the rule about freshmen.
There's been so many squeaky wheels.
If they have a problem, they should be able to appeal that decision at least, so they can bring a car on the campus. But of course, there's not enough parking on campus to
Right.
do that. So the other alternative is that URI build some more parking, which has always been needed. Having been a faculty member at URI for 45 years, I know that there was a proposal 25 years ago to build a parking structure on campus. Whatever happened to that proposal, and at the time, I happened to be involved with union activities, and we were all for getting more parking on campus. And that proposal, we endorsed it, but nothing ever came of it. Probably because of money,
And
which is
I would,
the problem with all these things. Somehow URI has got to be brought into this conversation.
I think that there have been a lot of people that have been very squeaky wheels that have tried. Even, I had, I think, 6 people that parked at my house last year who did not get a parking permit because they went by credits. And they're upperclassmen. They could get a parking permit, but they ran out. So they couldn't even, I had upperclassmen. I had already been full, so I can't park them at my house. But, and then I have one girl who is a 5th-year PharmD student who's been parking since her dad dropped her on my doorstep and told her I was her adult. So she's been there for 5 years. She's not a freshman, but she just can't afford the $500 to park on campus. So, oh yeah. Oh no, it's $500. Yep. Yeah, so, and I would like to just kind of argue that, yes, there's cars parked there, but it's not a parking lot. It isn't paved, it's not gravelled, it's a yard that cars are parked in, and over the summer, when my kiddos have friends over, the cars are parked, or they could be parked there. I try to keep it as flowers, but, you know, it's...
Mr. Chairman, can I ask the building official again? I'm confused. There's a parking lot two lots down, I guess, we have established. What is the zone for that particular parking lot?
I believe this is state property, so government institutional. The University of Rhode Island is really exempt from any setbacks and parking requirements.
Okay.
They operate under their own kind of rules, so to speak.
Okay. So let me ask further. If this situation didn't exist and the applicant decided to have a party every Saturday and had 12, 15 cars out there, would that be a violation?
I will answer that one.
Okay.
Guest parking at a house, as you all know, is normal, is accessory. That's customarily incidental and subordinate to the principal use of, you know, your home.
Why isn't this guest? Tell me why this isn't guest parking.
So I didn't issue the notice of violation. I would consider the scope of what's going on here to exceed the scope of accessory parking, because normally when you throw a party, whether it's once a week, a couple times a year, you don't charge your guests to park there.
I don't charge.
These people are her guests.
So there's the arrangement here that they're students, they're not friends, right? They're people who need a place to park. I do think it fits into the parking category, and there may not be a fee charged for each parking spot, but there may be incidental fees for transportation, for instance. So, and the board, in making its decision on whether this NOV was properly issued, you can, the board can come to a consensus on whatever ground it deems appropriate.
And just to follow up with that, I would consider an accessory use would have to remain on the premises. So an accessory use or parking accessory to the single-family dwelling couldn't be for something conducted off of the property. And so if everybody, the sole purpose is just to park there to go to class or school down the road, that's a whole entirely separate use, not accessory, in my opinion.
Does it come into play at all that most of the kids are going to land on my couch at some point, hanging out because they're not coping and they need to pet the dog for a little while before they can get their act together?
I would say they would need to live at the property or be a guest.
But if they're in the living room, they're a guest.
Yeah, I think, you know, it sounds like it's the regularity of it, it's the, you know, but if we're like, if it were something more irregular, then somebody can say, okay, this is just people parking for the house. But I think it sounds like the intensity of it was such to trigger sort of a visit, right?
And
so if it's not something that would be seen out of the ordinary, then it's like it's what's expected.
I have a friend who lives in South Kingstown who has over 60 cars on his property that's R200. They're not visible from the road.
Right.
What's the address?
I'm telling you that.
So
we've got, or then, like, the house next door has a bunch of vehicles. Like, they're not bothering anybody. The house on the other side of me is used as a frat house right now.
Right.
There's lots of vehicles there all the time.
Right.
So it's not out of character.
Sure.
The neighbors don't mind. I'm
Right.
not paved. I'm not causing any obstruction.
Right.
The kids are landing on my couch. They are my guests.
But it's seen.
It is seen. It is seen. But the other houses, it's seen too. I mean, that house that I was talking about with the 60
Yeah,
doors, that's
the
not
one that's
single
got all the, nobody's seeing it or no one's
Right.
complained about it, right?
Right. I think this complaint came from Facebook.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't matter, like,
I know,
it's
but
just.
it's not like a person that's there.
And I think for us, at least what makes it difficult for me is that I have all these letters of people saying, yes, I am parking there, right?
They have parked there. They're not all currently.
No, not today, but I mean, just the fact that they're like, yeah, we were there.
Yeah.
Means that there was in fact a violation at the time that
Which
it was
I'm admitting
suggested.
to.
Yep, so I think at this point, if you feel that you can rectify or not repeat what brought you to us, meaning that if as long as it's not viewed as it being a parking lot again, and because the town can then sort of take further action, and find you in violation. Now, what would be the next
The
step?
town has already, we're here because a notice of violation was issued. The next step would be for the town to potentially go to court to enjoin, right? And that would be the town's own municipal and housing court. I can't speak to where this case would fall on the priority list. It's fair to say, I think, given all this, and I think also given the experience of the municipal and housing court in the, is it year and a half, or has it been more since it's established? When property owners are brought before the municipal court in this town hall, generally the goal is compliance, and my understanding is that the judge allows reasonable time for compliance. And I think everyone realizes this is a situation where, as noted, it's possible that the town and URI could try to come up with some kind of a solution.
Can I jump in here for a second? Yeah. It says, as part of the violation, the correction shall be the discontinued use of the property as a parking lot. Have you done that?
Well, they're on break.
Yeah, I know they're on break,
Well, that's why they're on
but you're
break.
not planning to continue.
I was hoping we could.
Yeah.
I know you were, but
If you say I can't,
that's one of the corrections I'm asking.
so I didn't know I was breaking.
Okay. The other says that discontinue advertising of the property for such said use.
I hadn't advertised it. Somebody on Facebook asked for local parking for their freshmen. I made a comment on that, it was on one of the URI family Facebook pages. I made a comment saying I have a few kids that park in my house. I currently have a wait list. If you want to go on the wait list, feel free to PM me. They took a screenshot of that and submitted it to the town. So that was part of what I thought. So not the person that made the post, somebody else on the URI family Facebook post. So that was my advertising. Did you get all that?
Yeah, I got all that. I just don't know why, who was the one that issued this?
Joshua Brothers.
Joshua Broder issued the way he did.
So I think
I
the.
mean, that's what we're considering here.
We're considering, yeah, the cease in the use as a parking lot and advertising, whether it be advertising, hey, I need money for you to park here, or hey, come and park here with no fee. There just can't be any invitations for, people outside of the household or regular guests to be parking on the
So
property.
she was doing one, but she wasn't doing the other.
Well, definition of advertising, it sounds like maybe soliciting, but no, payment.
Advertising doesn't have to mean taking out an ad in the local paper.
Social media.
Yeah.
I made a comment on a social media post. That was my advertising. And it was just trying to help that person. It wasn't. No, I'm not going to do that again. I would like to keep my kids that are parked there now through the rest of the school year at least, so they're not left high and dry. So that would be end of January through end of April. I would like to let them continue.
Would ultimately be, enforcement is up to the discretion of the town.
If I may, Mr. Chairman, thank you. Mr. Gorman, did you or your zoning enforcement officer meet with this individual prior to issuing the complaint?
I know I didn't. Before we issued the notice of violation, I don't know if Mr. Brother met with Ms. Hopkins.
So
She may be able to speak.
Did anyone meet with you prior to letting you know about this?
I got the letter in the mail.
That's it?
And I immediately...
No one met with you and discussed it with you?
No, I immediately called Joshua Brothers. That was on a Wednesday. Called him that day, left a message. Called him Thursday, left a message. Called him Friday, left a message. Called him Monday, left a message. Called him Tuesday, left a message. Showed up at the office on Tuesday. And I told him what was going on, and he said, "You have a really good argument here. It's not up to me."
This was after you got the
This was after
violation?
I got the letter, because it said I needed to get people off in 15 days or appeal in 20 days. I said, I wasn't trying to do anything wrong here. What do you advise? And he goes, "You have a really good argument. You're doing the right thing here. It's not up to me at this point, but send me an email with all of this information that we just talked about." So I did. And then he sent me the appeal application, so I did that. And then they sent me a bill, so I paid that. And I've just been trying to do the right thing and do it quickly and be in compliance. I asked if it was okay to have the kids, because I wasn't coming until today, I asked if it was okay to have the kids park for the rest of the semester because they'd be gone before this meeting, and he said that was fine.
All due respect, Mr. Gorman, I think this is an overstep. I would ask that you withdraw it. That would be my suggestion. Until withdraw the violation until the end of the school year and let the individual work something out. You have no complaints from anybody. You have an anonymous complaint in which you issued a violation. And again, with all due respect, I think it's overstep when you don't meet with the individual that's supposedly committed the violation to understand what she has to say before you issue it.
Well, I think oftentimes we issue probably over the course of the year 40 or 50, and oftentimes when we door knock to speak with somebody, we don't get the warm, friendly greeting. So, and understandably, I think there was a meeting that took place after, or a discussion, but at this point, we wouldn't be able to turn, once we're aware and we draft a notice, we can't, we perhaps could rescind it, but I wouldn't be able to backtrack knowing that it's, all the evidence points that it's, clear violation.
So help me understand a little bit going forward if she were to go in front of the judge. Like, what is there money involved in doing that?
So
is there
typically there's going to be an arraignment, so maybe February would there be an arraignment, and then the Ms. Hopkins would plead, or depending if she'd be willing to work with the town, or if she'd want to basically argue and go to trial. But likely there would be a fine of $500 or more if there's going to be a court hearing in most cases.
Got it. And is there any penalties to the property, or there's no?
That's at the discretion of the judge, but maximum of 500. But knowing that.
But this is after. I'm sorry, but this is after any discussion with the town. Like
I'm not sure.
It's not $500 and let's start talking.
I'm not sure what discussion with the town you're referring to.
Let me just
yeah.
Let me just clarify. I can't speak specifically to this municipal court, but it's not the goal of the municipal court, and two, I think it's rare for the municipal court to actually collect fines, because the goal of the municipal and housing court is compliance. Okay. And housing court judges and towns bend over backwards and allow lots of leeway. This is not just in South Kingstown, uniform. We allow lots of leeway. We consider extenuating circumstances. No one is here, balancing a ledger. This is not about collecting fines.
Right.
Zoning enforcement is about compliance.
So if it's, but even if, and I'm sorry, I'm arguing for you. So,
You can argue for
if
me.
it's a matter of saying like, listen, I'd still like to have the conversation, and I'd still want to be able to find a resolution, even though I'm not going to willfully have people park here at the moment, can I still have the conversation with the
I
town?
would suggest that's a conversation for the town council.
Yeah.
That's a conversation for the town council.
Well,
I mean,
I think, well, let me backtrack. So for us, like if we find, because I think we're already in agreement that the violation did occur. So it's upholding that it did occur. But I think it's a matter then, like, so for us, it's just a matter of approving, or just.
Can we continue it to give them more time to find a resolution or an alternative?
Yeah, that's what I'm getting to.
I think the role of this board is really narrow, as you stated at the beginning, and it's really just, was it legally correct or legally incorrect for the town to issue the zoning violation? The basis of the violation, was it right or wrong? Enforcement is a matter really up to the discretion of the town. This board doesn't typically get into mechanics of enforcement in terms of we're going to give a month, 2 months, but I think you can all have supreme confidence in Jamie and his colleagues, and also in the judgment of the town. I can tell you, from my point of view, and certainly I'm not calling all the shots by any means, but this is a situation that that certainly deserves some time and thought and collaboration by various stakeholders to resolve.
So, but in order for, it would go away if we agree that it was was okay for them to issue this. But then if people park there in January or February, then this. Is it more in violation, or is it just sort of continuing the conversation?
It would be, I think it's a continuing it would be a continuing violation,
That would
right?
end up in the municipal, but.
Correct.
If nobody parked there anymore,
Then it's done.
then it's done.
Yep.
So, but you would never be heard by the court because it's done. So
Correct.
the only way for it to be heard by the court is to have people park there.
Correct, but I mean, again, it's the court only has purview over violations that come on its docket. The town council potentially has purview over, bigger picture questions.
Or would it be that we uphold it and you continue to say, well, no, I'm appealing it? And it would.
She has every right to continue to do that.
Right, so then it would kick it to the municipal court. I'm just saying that how to force it to the municipal court to create the conversation, to enable the conversation to happen.
But would that help me?
It could, it could get attention that you're looking to achieve.
Could we just say, I don't have pavement, I don't, it's...
That's up to the municipal
I know,
court.
but could you guys say it's not really a parking
No,
lot because I don't have pavement, I don't
For
have...
us, all we're doing is saying that there was a violation that occurred. That's the only thing we're here for.
But is it a violation if it's not a parking lot because there's no
The
pavement?
fact that it was paved or not doesn't,
Yeah.
legally doesn't matter.
I mean, and we already know that people were parking there
Oh,
that
yeah.
didn't live there, that were going to school.
Mhm.
So we already know it's being used as a parking lot. So for us, I mean, at least from my view, that we have to uphold the violation that was identified by the building inspector. So I think now it's just a matter of saying, okay, but I still, you still believe you have a case to make, so that's why you want to appeal it still, to say that I want to talk to the municipal judge.
How, and you might not know this, but how does that work in terms of timing? The kiddos are going to come back
Well, and that's what we're saying. So what would happen is that you would still be seen as in violation. So it
But then
would
I'm
be
getting
kicked to the
fined?
court. Well, it's not a daily fine.
It said it was $500 a day.
Yeah, that's
I mean,
under
we're
the
not trying,
statute.
well, I don't want to get Amy or the building inspector at all in any issues of trying to make, trying to give suggestions for you. I mean, I think it's just understanding that I think we can clarify that. Is it a per day violation?
So that's written in the ordinance. So that's on every notice of violation as a standard, a maximum and up to. We have never implemented that.
And it sounds like that the
I just want, can
court is
you
set up.
repeat that? You have
We have
never?
never implemented a $500 per day ever.
Yeah.
Just for reference.
And I don't even think the town necessarily routinely collects fines, except for, I want to say, egregious and willful violations continuing over a very long period of time.
Would I be an egregious and willful violation if I let the kids park until the end of
It
April?
seems to this point that the opinions that you've encountered to this point are like, listen, our hands are tied because this is the ordinance, is what all of us are saying. And so I think it's just continuing to make that appeal. I understand I'm in violation with the ordinance, but really there's a case to be made that these kids should park here or whatever it is that you're so, and it sounds like everyone's going to have some empathy towards that and not going to be like, well, we don't care. We're going to fine you $500 a day because we want the water cooler to be paid for. So it's not going to be like that. So again, this is just advice that we're not really supposed to be giving.
Yeah.
But I think we're just trying to let you know that it's not it's everyone's intent here to enforce the rules, but not necessarily penalize someone that's trying to do something good for the community. But it's against the rules.
Let me say.
Could she ask for?
There's only 2 or 3 days left of classes, not classes, finals.
The shooting at Brown, they're all done. Monday.
they're done.
Yeah, they're done. No, but the same kids are coming back at the end of January. Right, but how fast does the system work? Well, they're all gone now, so I've adhered. Right, but then come. No, that's what I'm saying. I don't want to do that. I don't want to leave these kiddos high and dry. I'm trying to find a pathway to let them still be here.
I think what Mr. Daniels suggested regarding get them off the property, get them onto the town right of way, but I don't know, as I sit here today, whether it's legal to park on that road at all times. I'd have to look into that.
I feel like that would be dangerous for traffic. I feel like I have a safer
To
option.
simplify this, don't we have to uphold the laws as we know it, number one? And then number two, that would put it in your court to work with either the town or someone to try and find an alternative. But to simplify it, I think we have to really take a vote on, are we upholding the laws as they stand now?
Is a use permit a possibility?
So I think, as Jamie indicated, if a parking lot is flat out prohibited in this zoning district, and it is, right? Principal use parking lot. Now, she's not asking to turn the property fully into a parking lot.
Right.
But that would be adding a principal use that's prohibited. What she or anyone else who wanted to turn part of their property into a parking lot legally would be ask the town council to amend the zoning ordinance to allow that either by right or by special use permit. And as we know, that's a long process that takes time. It involves review by the planning board. It's not something that can happen overnight. The town council meets twice a month, right? Except in December. But town council's here twice a month. They take public comment. Anyone who wants to bring an issue like this to the attention of the town council is welcome to.
So You're saying that this is a principal use of the property? The principal use is her residence.
There can be more than one principal use on a property, and the notice of violation, as I read it, I didn't draft it, I wasn't consulted, but again, it was issued because the level of the scope and level of parking on the property, in Mr. Brothers' opinion, rose to the level of you're crossing the line from normal accessory parking that we all know can be done in conjunction with residential living, to a principal use that's prohibited.
So it sounds like if we uphold this, it could be, it's up to you to have the property re-inspected to make sure that there isn't a...
And I'd be happy to meet with Ms. Hopkins and discuss some options and alternatives, but I wouldn't be able to say you can park in the street without any kind of...
No, but just to say that the violation is no longer occurring.
Correct.
You can sign off on it and say that it's not occurring anymore.
I think there's a difference between the kids, the students, being assisted by Ms. Hopkins parking either at or adjacent to her property, and can they find somewhere else to park?
So it sounds like, just if we're talking about this violation in particular, it's a matter for us to vote on it, and then you to make sure that someone can stop by to say that you're no longer parking on the property, right? And you did say that you're no longer advertising it as well?
I never did.
Right. So that's being discontinued as well. So that can extinguish sort of the notice of violation. I think what happens from there is sort of up to you, and it's, we tried our best to sort of navigate this for you, to try to find next steps for you. I think sort of understanding the town's position and that everyone doesn't want to do it, but they have to, sort of leaves you with, and then knowing that if they did say, okay, no, you are violating this again, it would probably step up to the municipal court aspect to it, right? So, which is a path that can enable you to have a different, you can make an appeal to the judge differently than we can hear. So, it sounds like they, but I think when we're looking at it from a municipality, at least from a zoning board or from the zoning enforcement officer, we always say like, oh, well, sure, it's fine on this one property, but if everybody did it, then it's a problem, right? And that's sort of the concern. I think that it becomes like, okay, everybody's just letting their property be parked on.
But would that, I mean, most people are not going to allow that to happen.
Yeah, I know.
But would that even be, like, who, does it matter if people have cars parked on there?
I think it's a matter of, it's up to you as to how you want to take that next step. It's just that we can't offer anything other than everything we've just said.
I know.
And the only thing we could do is just to say, yes, the violation, did occur. And now it's up to the inspector, or the zoning enforcement officer, to go out there and just verify that it's not happening anymore. And then it's closed for us, right, and closed for them. And it's just a matter of what you do with it later. So if January it pops up again, then it's just a matter of dealing with it. The zoning enforcement officer will have to deal with it again.
Mr. Chairman, how about if we continue the appeal? Is there any reason we can't continue?
For what purpose, I guess?
Yeah.
For the purpose for you and your department to take some time and discuss the situation and see if you can come to some reasonable conclusion that would perhaps allow her to continue to service the students that she's servicing. That's all.
I just don't, I think we might be stepping outside of our lane if it would have to be off the property. I think any kind of alternative would have to be off the property aside from applying for a use variance.
Just Just a
I mean, I'd be-
suggestion that maybe
I
take
would
some
be-
time and,
I'd be happy to meet, and certainly there's, we do discuss with, the officials of university, but they know that there's a parking problem, and they know, I just don't think they're going to make these big changes for this, half a dozen cars, perhaps.
But even if we were to continue it, it would still prohibit them from parking once they came back, because there's been a notice violation.
Well, there'd be a stay on enforcement, so essentially I think that would buy time, but it sounds like the time isn't going to get you beyond the break that's already.
well, I was thinking more of a longer continuation, but
But it doesn't mean that the conversation couldn't continue. It's a matter of clearing this, and then the conversation can still continue. It's not like you guys, like that there can't be a
There's a
dialogue. It's just,
Certainly, but certainly there's many options. There's park and rides, there's RIPTA, there's the train station. There's a number of options that are, available. I just typically
it's
don't.
not through this notice that it can be resolved.
Our office typically doesn't do that. We can give some options, but to actually see them through to fruition, it's typically not what we do.
So the freshman parking is at Wickford Junction, which is, they can't park at Kingston Station.
No.
That's
Oh, no.
completely not okay. But there is parking at Wickford Junction, so that's, if a kid has a job, they get out of class, then they need to wait for the bus, and then they have to get to Wickford Junction, then they need to get to their job, and that timing doesn't always work out. And RIPTA, as we know in this area, isn't spectacular, so sometimes it's 10 to 20 minutes early, sometimes it's 10 to 20 minutes late, and then the kids are having trouble getting that. And then an Uber ride going from campus to Wickford Junction is going to be $30 to $40. So if they're trying to make money, or they're trying, that's kind of part of where the problem is, and that's part of the reason that the kids are parking. And also, some of them are just falling apart. They're falling apart at the seams.
Can
And
I just
so-
jump in for a second? Is there any kind of a legal loophole where we could vote, instead of to uphold the notice, to go in the other direction so that it disappears?
to zoning board, yeah. You're here to either uphold or overrule the issuance of the notice of violation. Now, I think the board usually takes the zoning ordinance at face value. It's up to you to decide what to do.
I like that question. That was a good question.
Well, I was just looking to see how big your backyard was.
So I have a swamp in the backyard.
No, I unfortunately, we can take the vote, but I don't see, the violation occurred. Like,
That's why I'm asking if there's a loophole
right.
around it that maybe
I think,
wasn't
I don't think, well,
quite enough of a violation that
You're
it.
talking about the equivalent of jury nullification for a zoning board. There's no law against that.
Okay, in English, please. That went over my head.
Okay, so jury nullification is the idea that a jury might say not guilty even after all the evidence points in the opposite direction.
So maybe the greater good?
That just messed me up. So,
You're bound to follow the law, right, to interpret the zoning ordinance, but you have, considering a notice of violation is a little bit squishier than the normal variances and special use permits. There aren't standards per se for whether a zoning official was right or wrong, right? You have to use your judgment. Now, you don't have equity powers like a court does. You don't have the greater powers of the town council, but you're here to use your best judgment today.
Okay,
Go for it, Mr. Yeah.
I'm just going to offer an opinion. I'm not going to make a motion at this point. I am going to take the position that these are guests on a residential property, and that's where I'm going to stand my ground. So I will not support the violation.
So
So-
are you making a motion to
No,
deny?
I'm not going
or
to make
to-
the motion. I'm just indicating that I will not support the motion as it exists.
You're saying that the violation did not occur? Okay.
I believe it did not.
Okay.
I believe it did not occur because it's my interpretation and my judgment that these are guests of the residential owner.
Okay. So, any other discussion? Because I'll make a motion.
Please.
So I'll make a motion to deny the notice of violation issued by the zoning enforcement officer, and that related to the premises on 107 Plains Road, that Heather Hopkins, that they did not violate the parking lot and an advertising violation that was stated. So I will say the motion is that the notice of, there was not a violation made.
And just a small amount of detail, please, on why.
So why? Because I believe that there was not an advertisement based on the testimony of the property owner. They were not outwardly or trying to advertise the fact that they had friends parking at their house, and that as people parked at their house and visiting her, that they were not using it as a parking lot. They were using it to visit her, and as well as enjoy walking or going around the neighborhood, as it were. So, no, I do not believe it was used as a parking lot. I think it sounded like everyone that she had there parking at or staying at or at the house were friends and family that she had known. So I do not believe that it was used as a parking lot.
Can I ask a question?
Yep, so my motion is that it is, that to deny that there was a violation on the property.
Rescind the notice of violation.
Okay, I'll rescind the notice of violation.
You'd be granting the appeal and rescinding the NOV.
Okay.
We don't have the ability to rescind that based on the fact that there are a certain number of cars. I'm sorry, thank you. Do we have the ability to put an addendum on that to rescind that based on the number of vehicles, that as long as there's a certain number of vehicles?
I think you could, but I don't think you need to, so I think it's up to the chair.
My only issue is that if we don't put some limits on it, you could have 20 cars there next year. I only have so much land. I know that, but I'm trying to.
So if the motion is to rescind the notice of violation, then there's no way to add conditions.
No, I think if we're saying that the violation didn't occur, that any future, I think just making the owner aware of the fact that there are eyes on the property and that there are concerns that there are a lot of cars parking there. So I think it's just being mindful of that and making sure that you're not outwardly sort of suggesting that more people are using your property than are staying there. So
you're upholding the appeal? Let me be clear. You're upholding
I'm upholding the appeal, yes. I'm rescinding the violation.
Granting the appeal,
Granting the
rescinding the
appeal.
NOV.
Yep,
Second.
okay. So it's rescinding the notice of violation
Yeah.
and approving the appeal.
She can continue to have cars parked.
that are
But you're
people.
upholding the violation.
Nope,
No.
rescinding the violation.
But you just stated,
Upholding the appeal, her appeal.
Her appeal.
oh, her appeal.
Yep.
Okay.
All right, any other discussion? Okay, Mr. Cagnetta, aye. Mr. Daniels? Aye. Ms. Hicks?
Aye.
Mr. Elia? Aye. Mr. Rosen? Nay, okay. 4-1, your appeal does pass.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you.
I still would make sure you're having conversations with folks.
Yes.
And make sure that you're not
Yes.
making it obvious that you're
Yes.
sticking
And
with
consult
someone.
an attorney.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Please. Thank you. All right, so everybody has next year's calendar, correct? Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I just note that March meeting isn't the usual third Wednesday because of a conflict with the town council budget hearing. So it's, I believe, the fourth Wednesday,
Budget.
just so everyone is aware.
13th. March 13th, okay. Okay. Thank you, everyone, for leading us to that. I think it was not an easy one. So we have the minutes from October 15th, 2025. Does anybody note any changes or anything that jumps out? No. Yeah. Any issues with the October? Okay. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? No? All right, next meeting is January 21st.
Looks like a light meeting. So there's one continuation, which is the Tomahawk Trail use variance.
Yep.
And I believe we have one continuance from this evening, Rogers, 28 Columbia Street, and then there's one other petition so far, and there's only a few more days left for the deadline. So.
Okay, well, thank you, everybody. Thank you for a very productive later meeting. And and happy, yes, I said holidays. I was trying to, there could be Kwanzaa in there too. Yes, we are in the middle of Hanukkah right now, like dead middle. All in favor to, what are we doing? To adjourn? Thank you. Aye. Any opposed? All right. Thank you.